As Madagascar prepares for Randrianirina's swearing-in, the African Union has suspended the country following a military coup that ousted President Andry Rajoelina. Ironically, the same military unit that brought Rajoelina to power in 2009 has now removed him after weeks of youth-led protest over poverty, corruption, and rising living costs. According to the World Bank, about 75% of Madagascar's 30 million people live in poverty. The AU has also suspended Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea in the past following similar coups. Isaac Lucando, Dar es Salaam.
And that was the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
From the creation of the Bible in 1912 by a struggling Baltimore book salesman to the day in 1493 when Christopher Columbus and his crew looked back on their voyage and realized what they truly discovered was themselves. The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On July 21st, 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the surface of the moon. The moon, for Christ's sake.
This is Tranquility Base. The Eagle has landed. Jesus H. Christ, Houston. We're on the moon. Over.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy that. We cannot believe you are on the moon.
I'm descending the ladder. Just one more step and I'm holy living. I absolutely am standing on the surface of the moon. Jesus H. Christ in a chicken basket.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 is the phone number you can call if you're hearing my voice and you'd like to bring up anything you want on the show with us in our conversation tonight. Free Talk Live means you can call in about whatever's on your mind. 603-283-6160. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Mr. Penguin,
and Richie Rich.
There's always many, many things for us to talk about. We could talk about whatever we really want on this show, and that means you can too. You can call in with whatever's on your mind.
Except for the stuff we're talking about before the show.
Yeah, guys. Keep it.
We don't want to go there again.
Plus weird. They were getting weird.
Well, it was more like you were getting weird.
No, I wasn't. I'm being accused of getting weird. Okay, never mind. No more inside jokes because Free Talk Live is about you. You can call in about whatever you want to talk about. But it really is the truth. Free Talk Live, the reason why we do this is for people to call in about whatever's on their mind. But the thing on my mind tonight is that you should be absolutely certain before anybody is even telling you this, or as soon as ChatGPT became a thing, you should have assumed that the conversations can and will be used against you that you have with it.
And even if you don't have those conversations, they will be used against you.
What do you mean? Like even if you don't use it?
Yeah, they'll just make it up, ChatGPT, and then send it into an audio AI program, and it'll make it sound like you. So
that's horrifying.
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting for them to use this in court against them. Like, and it'd be obvious. So like, how could they possibly do this? But they'll do it. I'm sure it's just a matter of time.
The videos are getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that Trump? Not that it wasn't a video that was anywhere near possibly perceived by anyone as a real video. I hope to God not, but that Trump posted this video that's himself as King Trump, and then he's going and flying a plane over like some city, presumably some liberal city, and there's a No Kings protest going on. He like presses a button and dumps dung on the protesters.
If he didn't create it, he's definitely going to share it on, was it Truth Social?
He did. And it's kind of funny in a way that's like, oh my God, this is just, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe the president is posting stuff like
Your
this.
Your president, ladies and gentlemen.
But it's also kind of like a little gross. I feel like maybe I would feel more like this is horrible if it wasn't those stupid No Kings protests. It might as well be the hypocrites.org protests. It's like, we don't care what any other previous president has ever done that's insane power grabby, but when it comes to Trump, we don't want a king.
Well, that would have been a good opportunity to somewhat counter protest if you were libertarian. Right.
What?
You go to the No Kings protest with a sign that says, and no presidents.
Yeah, just no presidents, period.
Right.
Yeah. No kings, no presidents. And you flip it over, it says like no rulers, no masters.
I really think it should have just been no rulers, like just end the rulers.
Yeah, but that's not what they want. They just don't want Trump.
I know.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. They would, if somebody was acting exactly like Trump in a more lefty lean, like if somebody was acting
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, they would be totally fine if Gavin Newsom became president and started like insane power grabbing, but it was with a leftist flavor. They would not care. They would not be saying, no, we need our, like they're saying like, they're finally talking about due process and the Fourth Amendment and stuff like that, only when it comes to ICE. They never cared about that when it came to anything else. Wait, what?
No, what you're saying is so true.
So true. I thought you said it's not true.
No, it's there. The left and the right are hypocritical is what it comes down to. And it's like, and this is the crazy thing is, I don't like Trump either, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like,
exactly,
like,
I hate when it sounds like we're defending him.
You guys are blowing this out of proportion, and it's not that like you're wrong entirely in that he is doing stuff that's like flagrantly like unconstitutional and stuff like that. No, he is, but he hasn't acted in a way that how do I say this is against the law, I think is sort of the way to phrase it, in that how
can you say he's acting unconstitutional but not against the law?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. So the president can do basically what they want, but it's up to the courts to decide whether or not it's legal. And if the courts decide it's not legal and he does it anyway, well, then all of a sudden he's breaking the law. But until that point, he's not really breaking the law, because that's just not how the system works.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how things are supposed to work.
I think that you're wrong, actually, because I think that he can make an executive order, but he can't act on it until if the courts give him a pause. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, generally speaking, you do whatever it is that, like, whatever the crime is, right? You do that first, and then whether it's legal or not, that's up for the courts to decide, right?
No, no. It's whether or not the courts decide it's illegal or illegal, but the law is set first, right? Like you're not allowed to rob, and they go like, well, I'm going to rob, and then the courts go, well, you robbed, and now here's the penalty. The court's supposed to enforce the penalty for breaking the law that's set by the legislature. It's not do what you want. Like the law is set.
Well, the law and
the Constitution grants the executive certain powers.
Right. So I get where you're coming from. The problem is the law is not usually like there's a lot of uncertainty about the laws, right? Like you can interpret laws in all sorts of different ways, right? And he is interpreting them in ways that are just insane, but nonetheless, he is interpreting them, right? And then it's up to the courts. This is the whole thing. He's not going outside the processes, which have been set forth, right? So I get, yes, he's doing things that are clearly going to be declared illegal, right? I get that. And I agree with you on that. It's just, he's not doing anything that's sort of like outside the same thing other presidents have done.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? And I don't think this is going to be the end of democracy or end of the United States. The system's going to continue on, in 4 years. I don't think he's going to take over the United States and become we're not going to become a dictatorship where Trump is, president for the rest of his life, right? Like, I think that's sort of where people are going with this. But
he's floating the idea. He put like a red Trump 2028 hat on,
but
his
he's
desk.
also trolling, right? Like, and trolling isn't like it's not what's actually going to happen or what he expects to happen.
Yeah, but he also floated this idea where he said, "This is where we could do it. We could have JD Vance run for president. I run as his vice president,
and steps down,
and then Vance steps down the day of election because apparently." You can only not run and win 3 times, but you can become vice president.
So that might be a loophole, and that's fine. But
that's what Trump does.
So if he did that would be within the law, though, right? Like, so he's not like overturning democracy or the system that we have. I get that people are. I don't like what he's doing either, right? But let's not blow it out of proportion.
Right. Well, but using the National Guard is absolutely against the law.
I don't think you're wrong so much
In
as
states where they're saying they specifically don't want them there,
I don't
too.
think that's necessarily against the law. I think the courts will come to that conclusion and
The 10th Amendment, right?
Agree, right? But
Yeah.
that doesn't change the fact that he has to do it before we can determine whether or not it is or isn't against the law.
No, that's not how it works.
Well, that is how it works, though.
No, it's against the law.
Well,
and then he needs to be impeached for it.
But the courts are the ones who determine whether or not somebody broke the law, right? Like, I can't just accuse somebody of breaking the law and then throw them in a cage. You accuse them and then you bring them to
you point to the law of which they broke, right? And then you have a trial over it with evidence
which is
being
what
presented.
I'm saying. Which is exactly what I'm saying.
But it doesn't mean he didn't break the law. It's not like the court goes like, well, this is not the law. The law is there. And you go like, well, you didn't do it according to this. And now we're going to have a trial.
Anyway, he hasn't taken control, basically, is what I'm trying to say. He hasn't taken control over the country and acted in a way that a dictator acts. Is what ultimately what it comes down to.
He has been
a dictator would throw away the court, right? He'd say, okay, no more. He dismissed the Supreme Court. Like, that's
He's
what a dictator
putting
would do.
ICE agents and letting them cover their faces and throw people in the back of cars.
We all agree that's bad here, right? Like, I don't think anyone's disagreeing with
actually
it. It's
specifically a dictatory thing.
That might be, but it's
and he's trying to grow the federal army.
Or promising to ignore the courts when they decide that what he did was illegal.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Once he starts to ignore the courts, then that's when you become basically a dictator, right? Is
that your line? Is that where you're drawing the line?
I think that's where the line sort of is. I mean, how would you define a dictator? Like, what do you consider a dictator to be? I mean, to me, that would be ignoring the laws.
Well, so this might be a bad example because I don't remember everything about it, but the Kilmar Albrigo Garcia case, right, would fit your definition of a dictator, because there was a court order to not deport to a specific country, and Trump and his executive agents, right, deported him to a country from which he was not supposed to be.
So I think that's
in violation of the law.
I don't
and ignoring any court order to bring him back.
Right. So I don't want to say that's a fine line. I don't think that's. I think
does it qualify as a dictatorship or not?
Well, no. See, I don't think it. You're probably very close to the line there. I
think you stepped over it by defying a court order.
Well, hold on, maybe. But the question is the time frame in which it was done, which he was in
El Salvador for months.
Yes, but hold on. My understanding,
in violation of the court order.
So my understanding of the defense of that was there was let's see, they weren't they like extraditing him or something, and then the court order came down after the guy was on a plane.
No,
something like that.
There was a standing court order that his life was in danger. In
was
El
that the one where
Salvador.
they mixed it up? Where they said there was a mix-up and that shouldn't have happened?
At first.
Yeah, okay.
And then, so you made the mix-up.
So it was a mistake, right? Okay.
I'll grant the mistake at first.
Right.
But then they failed to remedy, and then rather than remedy, they decided to double down and say, nope, he's a bad person, he's MS-13, he's a wife beater.
Right.
He deserved this, and this is what we should have done.
So that was, I think, to some degree propaganda, but at the same time, I do believe they actually got him back, if I'm not mistaken.
Months later.
Well, look, I don't disagree, but this was also... Again, I think we're all on the same page as far as bad man. Don't do these things. We don't want him to do these things. But at the end of the day, this is the kind of stuff that he's not the first president that's done this kind of stuff. We had the extradition.
I have a few
to Guantanamo Bay as an example, and basically kidnapping people around the world, and that's not even something that happened only in the last 2001. You don't even have to go back that far. You could go farther back, and we were kidnapping people from around the world.
ICE is kidnapping Americans.
Right. So this isn't, I mean, I do think he shouldn't be doing these things, but at the same time, it's like, if he's a dictator based on that logic, then we've had dictators before. But to me, a dictator is somebody who's going to not leave when they're voted out of power, or they're going to cause them to be reelected, and the election isn't fair because you're stopping people from going to the polls that disagree with you, or you're taking out your opponents, that kind of thing.
Okay.
The Kilmar, sorry, let me make sure I get the name right. Kilmar Abrigo Garcia thing is kind of interesting because I've been saying for a while, I don't really care that the El Salvadoran president cleaned up the street of gangs. If even just one person was wrongly confined in those horrible conditions that he created in in his prisons, then it's like a horrible tragedy. And it says
That's
here,
backwards of the American system, by the way.
what do you mean?
The American system, it is best to let a guilty man go free than to imprison anyone who's innocent.
Exactly,
No,
and that's how it should
it's
be.
It's better to let 10 guilty men go free.
Even better.
Yeah.
Or 100 guilty men go free than imprison one person
Right.
wrongly. Yeah.
That's
Not
how
like we're going to
Well,
clean up
innocent
the
man
streets,
wrongly.
and if a few innocent people get wrapped up, that them's the breaks.
Yeah, it's horrible.
That's not the American
And
system.
I've said to libertarians who like looked like they were like fuming at me. I was like, I don't like that guy, and I don't like what he did. And they'd be like, well, you weren't there. There were gangs everywhere. And I'd just be like, I just don't like the way he did it. He suspended their version of habeas corpus to be able to do that at all. And there were absolutely innocent people that got sucked up into a horrible prison that's insanely overfilled and put in horrible conditions in El Salvadoran prisons because of it. And I don't think that anything is worth that. And this situation with Kilmar Abrigo Garcia is interesting because it's a screw up majorly in a horrible way on the part of the United States government and the El Salvadoran government. This guy, I wanted to know, so I was looking up while you guys were hashing that out about whether or not it makes Trump a dictator. I was trying to get from at least this Wikipedia page, was he illegal or not? And so this is basically what
He was
happened.
absolutely illegal.
It said he illegally immigrated to the United States to escape gang threats, but in 2019, an immigration judge granted him what's called withholding of removal status due to the danger he would face from gang violence if he returned to El Salvador. This status allowed him to live and work legally in the U.S.
Right.
And he never was convicted of any crimes, so they'll say like, oh, he did this and that. Well, I don't know.
Human trafficking, wife beater,
Yeah. So, I mean, he could have...
MS-13 member.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Like, you can illegally enter a country, but... And like, you could illegally enter the country as a citizen even, right? But because you didn't go through border control, the crossing was illegal, right? That doesn't mean they can extradite you or,
Right.
send you somewhere else, right?
But in his case, the restriction was back to El Salvador. Like, his dad was law enforcement in El Salvador, and therefore they were targets of gang violence. So he came to the United States illegally.
Right. He got here, however, through whatever means he was at his disposal. Basically.
But you can still deport him. You just can't deport him back to El Salvador under that law.
You have to have a country that will accept him too, right? So,
well, yeah, but Trump's negotiated that.
Right. This is true. This is true. I think there is an issue though with sending people to countries that do not. How do I say this? That violate like American constitutional norms, right? Standards. I think there is probably a problem with that. Like, you can't just extradite somebody anywhere. For example, we can't have an agreement with Saudi Arabia and then extradite people we don't like to Saudi Arabia and let Saudi Arabia kill them because we can't, right? Like, fundamentally, that's a problem.
Well, I mean, that's the whole reason Guantanamo Bay exists.
Right. I know, but this is what I'm saying. Like, that shouldn't be, right?
It's not on American soil, therefore it's out of our jurisdiction. We just send them there, and whatever happens there is Cuba's problem.
Which is the most absurd argument. How anybody can think that's okay, I don't understand.
Because the court hasn't deemed that when the president does it, it's illegal.
I know, but it's like, oh my God.
And as far as him being a wife beater, it's like he's still with that woman. Like, there are white people, white Americans that I know, they are married old people, and then you'll talk to their grandkids and they're like, yeah, did you know that grandpa used to beat the crap out of grandma? And now they're just like the sweetest, nicest, happiest couple you've ever seen because they like made up and got... It's crazy, and it's like not anything that goes on in any
and it's before women
families
got
I know
rights,
of.
so grandma couldn't leave.
Yeah, but it's not just that she couldn't leave. It's like, to this day, they have made up. Maybe he got off drugs, or maybe or like more likely alcohol back in the day. Got off alcohol and became a better person. And in this case, she even says that. She says that he had attacked her on multiple occasions, but she said with the help of counseling, we closed that chapter. We were mature enough to look for help.
There you go.
So,
I mean,
it's not up to her. Do we just decide we're going to deport every old man who's white
all the
American
racists who didn't
is,
like him? That's what they decided.
Apparently,
he beat his wife, who still wants to be with him, so he needs to go back to El Salvador. That was their logic and reasoning.
There's also kind of sort of the other aspect of it too.
I think there's worse people we could be, getting rid of, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We could be looking for people who've actually done violent crimes multiple times, and they just keep getting let out. Oh, he's just insane. No, why don't we just get rid of those people?
I mean, ultimately,
I don't want the government doing that either.
I think it's kind of crazy that we extradite people who are criminals. Like, if they're actually committing crimes in America, like, let's arrest them and charge them and, bring them to justice here.
Yeah, but then they'll just get let out by some activist judge.
Here's the problem with that too, right? Under the current system.
I don't know. I think that's probably a bit of an exaggeration. I mean, look at if you look at the statistics, especially at the federal level, it's something like 98% of people plead guilty, and some 70% are convicted anyway. So where are all these so-called activist judges?
Just this lady who
I'm not saying you
let
can't
out,
find one. I'm just saying
just
that,
this lady who let out the killer of Irina, whatever her last name was. I'm not gonna remember because it's like Zara something with an S. The Ukrainian model girl who got randomly stabbed on the bus by this guy.
Sure.
And he had been in and out of jail for violent crimes multiple times, and it's Baltimore. And the judge just let him out.
It's a state law, so it's a state judge. Right. So look, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying I'd
rather have that person just sent to some random country and never come back.
Do you want to pay to house like a Nicaraguan immigrant who's a violent criminal because you prosecuted him through the American court system?
I think this is I think it's more dangerous to just start extraditing people, based on, some sort of history of them being a criminal in some other country.
I got it. That's not my question. My question is, if you process them through the American system, whether they're born and raised in Baltimore or born and raised in Nicaragua.
So people who have committed crimes here have been convicted and then extradite.
I'm not saying extradite. I'm saying, do you want to pay to house them, or do you want to just send them back to whence they came, right, and let them deal with the punishment?
Well,
I don't want to pay for prisons.
Right. I don't disagree. I get that. So my perspective on this is basically, if the person wants to leave, right, let them leave.
But usually they don't. When they want to stay in Baltimore on the welfare check saying, I'm insane, I can't be held accountable for my actions, I just get to keep doing them. The thing about the violent thing is, if I lived in a free society and somebody was doing that stuff, I would totally use my vote or whatever we did to say, get rid of this guy, just kick him out, and we won't let him back. That's what I would say would be the best thing to do.
Then you don't have to pay for the punishment.
Exactly. I don't want somebody sitting in some cage somewhere that would pay people to watch him. And
I think the optimal solution here is sort of something along those lines, but I think it's got to be done very carefully. I think you need to sentence the person and then be like, okay, well, if you want to leave, you don't want to be in a cage, that's fine. You just can't come back, right? Or you can't, you have to leave our territory, basically, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, but I don't think it has to be up to him. I don't think it has to be up to them.
That's kind of what Trump is doing, though, or at least what he purported to do initially. We're catching the violent criminals.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like he's only doing this with this random guy.
Well, that's not really,
or not him, but
so supposedly that's not what's actually happening, though.
You're absolutely right. That's not what's happening. Because they're arresting Americans and holding them for days.
Right.
On suspicion of being illegal.
Even this guy that was from Germany, and he was taking a flight from Connecticut somewhere, and he got stuck in the Bradley airport, and he got held by ICE for a while, and he's legally here. Yeah. And the only thing that they were questioning on is apparently he had a weed charge that had been already dealt with from a decade ago.
I'm curious.
So stupid.
Have you guys read any stories about people traveling through the United States where they're going from maybe getting off one plane, getting onto another in order to continue their journey, but ICE is detained them and kept them from leaving?
No.
Usually
the airports are off limits unless you're coming to stay because it's transitory.
Okay.
Oh no, I haven't.
I know that is the case with some
airports. They got one guy who was coming out of jail. Right, he was wrongfully accused and arrested and prosecuted and spent 40 years in jail. Finally, one of those Institute for Justice places got him out.
Oh yeah.
And then as soon as he walked out the door, ICE showed up and we're going to deport you now.
Wow.
So he didn't even get a reunion with his family.
It's crazy.
603-283-6160. What do you think of how Trump has been handling this so far? Do you think that he's become a dictator or not? And where's your line in the sand? 603-283-6160, or maybe you think he's doing good. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, US President Donald Trump described the end of the Gaza conflict as the dawn of a new Middle East. On Monday, he visited Israel and Egypt, where he signed the official peace plan with other world leaders. The document, though, was not signed by Israel or Hamas, neither of which had representatives at the meeting. Ever since Kate Fisher sent this report.
Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, was there and shared a long handshake with Donald Trump in their first encounter since 2017. The Trump administration had denied Mr. Abbas a visa to travel to New York last month for the UN General Assembly. The next phases of any agreement between Israel and Hamas would include thornier issues the two sides are yet to agree on, including a full withdrawal of Israeli forces and whether Hamas would agree to lay down its weapons. It remained unclear whether such a brief gathering of leaders could make serious progress towards these goals.
The Gaza peace plan led to the release of the remaining 20 living Israeli hostages. Their families shared joy and relief at their return to Israel after 2 years in captivity. Ever since Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv was monitoring developments and sent this report.
Throughout the day, we could see helicopters in the sky, and they actually circled around and did flybys over Hostage Square, where tens of thousands of people had gathered from the early hours of the morning to watch the scenes of the hostages being released on large screens. Now, while there was relief there, the hostage families received bad news elsewhere. Of the deceased hostages, of which there are 28, it was announced that only 4 would be returning to Israel today. Israel then began releasing the Palestinian prisoners in exchange. That included some 1,700 people who were detained in Gaza over the last 2 years. It included children as well as women and medical professionals seized when Israel raided hospitals.
On Friday, President Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. That followed confirmation on Thursday that Trump will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin again, this time in Budapest, in the next couple of weeks. Their first summit in Alaska drew criticism for failing to make progress on ending the war in Ukraine. Ever since Pablo Gutierrez sent this report from Budapest.
U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the Budapest talks after separate phone calls with Putin and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The White House said both sides agreed to continue discussions that began in Alaska in August. Orban said he spoke with Trump on Thursday and called the conversation encouraging, saying Hungary is honored to host talks focused on peace in Ukraine. Trump said the meeting could happen within about 2 weeks, with senior advisors from both sides scheduled to meet next week to prepare the agenda.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That means that you can call Free Talk Live to bring up whatever's on your mind. And you can talk about literally anything that's on your mind, you just can't cuss on the air. 603-283-6160. And you can also talk about like bodily functions and gross stuff like that. Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Mr. Penguin.
And Richie Rich.
And we're back. Uh-oh.
Yes, we've been back for a while now, I think.
Well, do you mean back on since the break? It's only been a minute and a half.
What, didn't you just read a whole ad off for...
Yeah, but the shortest ad.
It's short, but it was an ad, so...
LibertyMinded.com. Again.
So now we're back doing the real show, not the advertisement portion.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys were muted anyway. The main thing I wanted to talk about in the last segment, but I liked where the conversation went too, because that's what Free Talk Live is all about, talking about whatever is on your mind, is this from theindependent.com. Oversharing with AI, how your ChatGPT conversations could be used against you. And honestly, if it hasn't already happened, I'd be shocked. Like Chris, you were saying, or Penguin, you were saying, you're interested in the first time it happens in court. Like, has it not already happened in court? There was that ChatGPT that convinced a little boy to hang himself.
Yeah, it might have been used. It's possible it's already come to court, like in a civil case, for more along the lines of what you were talking about. I was actually thinking more along the lines of artificially created voice that was then pretended, like they acted as if that was what somebody actually said when it was really fabricated completely by AI.
Yeah, but you wouldn't even need the voice with this because ChatGPT is more just text. Like you can talk to it.
ChatGPT is, but there's also audio AI equivalents where you can make it. So I think we actually used it on this show at one point for or Aria did with an interview with Ian. Where,
yeah, it's not this show. That's a totally different show.
Oh, it was a totally different show. Okay,
Free Talk Cast.
There was
like
Ian, but it was like AI generated voice based on
Ian.
What?
I called it Ian,
which is pretty clever. It's AIN.
Gotcha.
And so we know that you can take a voice and make it sound like somebody else and frame them for something. But my thought was more: has nobody actually been shown in criminal court to have searched something or talked about something with their ChatGPT? Like for example, when Casey Anthony, when she killed her kid, she had searched things about different poison or something like that, and like duct tape. So surely something like that's got to have come up in court by now.
I mean, think about this for a moment, Bonnie. How long has ChatGPT been around now?
Like 2022?
22. So we've been around 2 years. So it often takes multiple years for stuff to actually get to a trial. So it's I mean, that's like in criminal cases. Now now civil cases also can take a long time to get to a trial. So it may be that we haven't seen it. We haven't seen this yet, but it's certainly there's been. I think the way to phrase this is there's probably been cases where lawsuits have been initiated where this will end up being evidence during trial, assuming it gets to trial at this point, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And things do take a long time to even get to trial, even if it's like pretty obvious what happened and stuff like that.
Here's one dated just a week ago, October 13th. A new category of evidence: Feds cite ChatGPT logs of Palisades fire suspect.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Apparently I saw that the headline said that he had searched up, can you get in trouble for starting a fire if it was a cigarette that did it? Something like that.
You know, the really messed up part about this is that people over rely on computer forensics, and we don't really know what was going through the mind of the person doing the search. And I'll give people an example. I have a computer science background. I have a little bit of a computer forensics background. Anyway, basically the point that I'm trying to make here is that you've got a situation where you've got somebody's computer and you see what they've searched for, but you have no idea. First of all, often you don't know if they've searched for how to kill a mockingbird, like a book, or how to kill. The last part might have been truncated because they get this information from things like there's something called a swap file or a swap partition, and it's like random bits of data, but it may not be accurate, right? Or it may not be the full thing. And if
they've like deleted their history and now you're not on the user interface,
right. So when you recover data, you may not be recovering everything, but you also have to remember that it's also the case that somebody may have been watching a movie, and so they were doing research, they were curious about this or that. That doesn't mean that even though it's being, that will then go, they'll use that evidence though as to prove that you killed somebody, but that isn't really reliable, right? Like yeah, it could have been you that killed, your brother or something. But just because you search for how to kill somebody because you watch some, movie on some killer doesn't mean that has any connection.
Like maybe you were looking it up to see if this even realistic. But
again, that's a good reason to have a good defense attorney, because if the prosecutor brings that up, your defense attorney is supposed to cross-examine and dispel that.
Oh yeah. But remember
that story that
most people get pressured into pleading guilty before it ever goes to trial.
Yeah.
So whether you have a good defense attorney or not isn't
But if in the interview process they go, hey, we look at your chat history and it says how to kill. Care to explain that? And the guy goes, I totally killed my brother. You got me. Right? They could use that as part of their investigation.
So, there's another issue with this, right? So
well, I think we should go to the phones. I don't want them to hang up.
Great.
We do have they could want to talk about some totally different topic.
Sometimes I want them to hang up.
So we haven't talked to Dodger in a while. Well, at least I haven't. Dodger in Michigan. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Well, yes. Nice to talk to you guys. And,
nice to talk to you.
I usually listen to the podcast version, but usually if I'm listening live, and I happen to be watching live, and I wanted to mention to Richie Rich that my beard is exactly opposite of his.
What does that mean?
Is it black on the outside and gray on the middle?
Oh, okay.
Something like that?
Yeah.
It grows into your face?
Exactly opposite. Oh my gosh.
No, I just happen to be noticing that. But something I've been noticing more and more of here in Michigan are these flock cameras.
Oh, that's an awful thing.
Oh, Flock. The company, right?
Yes.
Yep.
What kind of cameras are those? Speed cams or?
They've got AI built into them, artificial intelligence, facial recognition, that kind of thing.
They look for faces and they look for driver's licenses.
License plate numbers.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they're actually privately owned by this Flock company. And cops, they are they'll act like used car salesmen and show cops a PowerPoint and be like, this is why you should use our cameras. And cops will buy their data. It's crazy. It's horrible.
It's a loophole.
So you've been noticing it in Michigan?
It's Big Brother is what it is. It's constant monitoring all over the place by government.
Actually, within the last few months, I've been stopped a few times by officers that have had these integrated into their vehicles.
Whoa.
On what charge?
Well, nothing says he was charged.
Well, they stopped him for a reason.
Well, they were harassing him, sure, but... So what were you harassed over?
I was driving my brother's car 6 days after his registration had expired. It was 6 days after his birthday. I just happened to, and then I was driving my truck and it registered no insurance. And then me and my brother were driving to work. He was driving his car again, and he got tagged with no insurance. And they just read this. We show them proof of insurance. But what kind of concerns me a little bit is Michigan as kind of a home rule. I'm not sure if you'd call Michigan a home rule state, but one specific law I do know is on the books where I know Ann Arbor has been fighting the state of Michigan for years on this, that they don't allow red light cameras anywhere in the state.
Okay.
And Ann Arbor has been fighting the state, for a long time, and the state won't budge on it. But what I don't understand is how are these Flock cameras then able to be used so regularly? And
because it's a loophole, because they're privately owned.
Yeah,
like Bonnie said.
And I've been commuting about an hour and a half each way to work, so that's a 3-hour commute because of where. Yeah, it's we've been getting out there an hour and a half one way, and trying to coordinate picking up materials. But I've just noticed that along the interstate, about every 5 miles or so is one of these.
Yeah. So I want to real quickly.
On the interstate?
That's a lot.
On the interstate. So that's not privately owned. That's government.
Yeah, but they've got a contract with the government to set up the cameras.
But that then constitutes government.
No,
The company is totally owned by a private
Right,
company.
I understand what you guys are saying, but I'm saying, like, legally, I believe that constitutes government. If somebody's acting on the government's behalf, that is the same as the government doing it.
They are contracting with cops.
Yeah, well, like Bonnie said, they're just buying the data.
No, that's not the case. That would be the similar situation with like flock cameras. That's a little bit different than
that's what he's saying. They're setting up the flock cameras.
Than somebody putting up cameras on behalf of the government.
It's not on behalf of the government. It's on behalf of the corporation, and then the government buys the data.
No, because the corporation can't put up. They wouldn't be able to put up flock cameras on the interstate.
It says that the law enforcement agencies are the ones placing them at the transit points, including interstates and major expressways.
So it's the government doing it.
All right, in Colorado, if I may put this out there as well, and I forgot which city in Colorado, but essentially the city had decided that they no longer wanted to keep their contract with Flock, made them remove the cameras, and then for some reason Flock came back in and put the cameras back up without. And the people, and I'm sorry, I read it on my news feed at some point, so I can't, I don't have.
Did the city lease them the space or something?
The city contract essentially ended their contract with Flock.
Right, but I'm wondering, like, okay, so I would presume that the placement of the cameras was on some sort of city property, right?
Yep.
So did the city, after the contract ended, did the city then lease the space where those cameras were previously, and then are they then selling the data back to the government? Is that what's going on?
Flock came back in and reinstalled the cameras against the city's will.
Okay, so they're illegal. They're illegal cameras then. They're illegally something.
Yeah, and still collecting data from. I mean, the way I figure, about it, I'm driving 80 miles to work. If there's one of these, roughly every 5 miles on the, we'll say every 10 miles, then I'm getting flagged 8 times. One way to the job site just from being on the interstate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if there was a private photographer hanging out on the sidewalk as you drive through the city, right?
But hold on, this is on the interstate, and so you can't just hang out on the side of the interstate.
I got it, but the fundamentals are still the same. It's a private camera, and you're in public.
I don't think you can say it's a private camera when in order for them to do it, they have to have permission of the government because unless it's on private property on the side of the interstate.
If they're leasing the land on the side of the interstate,
well, that would be true. But if it's on the interstate itself, that would be a problem.
Okay. I before we get too far away from it, I want to go back to your insurance problem, where they flagged you for no insurance and stopped you for it. So I don't know what the law is in Michigan or where the laws are different.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me get this out.
We switch insurance companies.
Okay. I don't care, but let me get this out. So in certain jurisdictions, there are what they call primary and secondary charges, right? And something like driving without a seatbelt, for instance, in some instances is a secondary charge. Like they can't stop you for driving without a seatbelt, but if they catch you speeding and then notice you're not wearing a seatbelt, then you can be charged for both. So if you it
used to be that way in Michigan, and then they made the seatbelt a primary.
Okay, so is no insurance primary?
Yeah,
it's a misdemeanor.
Well, that doesn't mean that has nothing to do whether it's primary or secondary, right? It's going
to be primary. There's no way that's not primary.
Yes, it can be because
in theory it could be, but I doubt it will ever have been.
It's probably secondary in every other place because unless they have a system like this, there's no way to know whether or not you're driving without insurance.
I mean, they've had computers in cars where cops have been able to look up whether or not somebody has insurance for decades.
Yeah, but not every. That's reason to stop everybody just to check to see if they have insurance.
No, because they're already going to know based on the license plate when they enter it into the system whether or not you have insurance on it.
Right. And a lot of places, in order to do that, you have to be stopped for something else. They're not allowed to monitor everything.
Well, no, that is
legal in
the
some
suspicion.
States.
That is suspicion. Once you've looked it up, that's suspicion of a crime.
But looking it up
is the investigation that's against the Fourth Amendment, and it should be everywhere, but some states say no and some states say yes.
I get that you are considering that to be a search, but I don't think the government certainly doesn't consider that a search. And I'm pretty sure
depends on the government you're talking about, because some states don't allow license plate readers and some do.
It's a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure the courts will not consider that to be a search. That's
Well, it just
subject
depends
to a
on the
warrant.
court because, like I said, some states. I read Lou Axelman's book on due process. Some states are actually good about this, and they don't allow license plate readers because it is an illegal search of everybody that goes by. It's like as if we all had to go
Right.
through anything where we had to give our ID every time we walk past this.
But that's not okay. So
road.
what I'm trying to say is it's not a constitutional issue here. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that it's not illegal
No one's
in
raising
some
it as a
states.
constitutional issue.
Well, you're framing it as a constitutional issue, but okay.
Well,
no, I'm framing it as whether or not they have the right to look it up in the
generally,
first place.
generally, a warrant and
This is why it's
searches
constitutional.
are constitutional issues.
Because cops aren't people who do anything besides grab somebody that has been accused of a crime. Cops can see a crime happening or be told this is the suspect we're looking for, but they're not supposed to just be going around looking to accuse someone of a crime. Like, if they happen to see someone just breaking the law, then they can obviously, just like anybody else, say that person's breaking the law, accuse them, and then they can actually go up and intervene. But I did find information about, I'm not sure if you were talking about somewhere in Michigan, but this is actually Evanston, Illinois. It says...
Oh, Illinois, okay.
It says...
okay, sorry.
It's okay. It says Flock Safety has, and that's the full name, I guess, of their company, Flock Safety, horrible, has, in at least one instance, reinstalled cameras. So here's what happened, the timeline. Late 2022, early 2023, Evanston first installed their Flock cameras. January 2024, the city council approved a 5-year contract extension. September, so from January to September, they ended up terminating their contract, and the cameras were taken down. I don't know why Evanston did that. It would be interesting to know. Flock then went and just reinstalled new cameras instead of leaving it alone. And in September 2025 also, the city became aware of the reinstallation and issued a cease and desist order and also had the cameras covered with garbage bags while awaiting their removal. So crazy.
It's impressive on the city. You don't really see the city coming to the defense of the citizens all that often.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but of course they initiated the putting up the cameras in the first place, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I also want to know why did they? Yeah, why they do that?
Yeah, that's true.
Why did they get rid of their 5-year thing?
Hopefully, pressure from the citizenry.
Too many politicians were getting, dinged by those cameras, probably.
or again, dinged by the constituency, going like, if you don't take it down, we're not going to vote you back in.
Could be that too.
It always goes back to their self-interest.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry. I'm just like, it's too hard to like read a whole article and keep talking at the same time. I guess I just shouldn't try. Maybe I'll find it in the break or something. Why did they take it down?
I'd like to interject a little bit about what Penguin and Richie Rich were, asking and essentially espousing on. And I totally agree because in every, all of those instances, it was just a police officer that looked like maybe they were sitting along the side of the road radaring people coming up the road. And then none of them were we actually, me or my brother actually speeding. So, there was, if it wasn't for these Flock license plate readers or automatic license plate readers attached to their vehicles, they wouldn't have flagged us. I understand that police can pull up behind you. I've been, flagged in the past for a police officer pulls up behind me, registration is expired, bam, that they light me up. So I get that. I just also don't understand how there can be a home rule law forbidding red light cameras in a state, yet they allow this Flock garbage. That's essentially
Talk to your legislature.
What I'm alluding to.
Talk to your local representative.
There's no rational rhyme or reason when it comes to government, man. It's just they do contradictory stuff all the time.
Now, I would say having proven that you have insurance, right, would lead to like a wrongful stop as well, and you might get a civil suit out of that.
Wait, did you have insurance or did you not have insurance?
No, they said they swwitched over the insurance, so they just showed proof of the new insurance when they got stopped.
Yeah, we had the proof each time. It's just essentially it.
The Flock database hadn't caught up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
something.
So interestingly enough, this is probably a potential danger of the system, and not necessarily illegal. I think what the courts would say is they had suspicion to stop you because according to their database, you did not have insurance. Now you proved that you did, but that still makes the stop legal, even though it's disturbing.
Right.
And the reason they were able to do it was because of the technology. So it's sort of, in some sense, it's kind of disturbing that the law allows it, but it's also disturbing that, the technology in and of itself.
It's kind of heartening about hearing a city banning it from their streets.
In Illinois.
In Illinois.
I figured out why. So it says that the reason that they got rid of their 5-year plan, so that part where they're like, hey, never mind, we're going to take these down and we don't want this anymore. It says it was after a state audit found the company was illegally sharing Illinois data with federal agencies.
Okay, interesting.
It says a city news release issued Tuesday evening says that all 19 cameras operated by the city are deactivated, and they were operated by the city. That's interesting.
That would also explain why they put them back up, because they're getting federal money for the data.
Oh, why Flock would put them back up? Yeah, that makes sense, because I was like, isn't that just a little like being childish or something? Like why? But now it makes sense, because what is their reasoning for doing it? To get federal money. And they're just like, we don't care what the city says. We'll just keep getting money from the feds.
But it's city property that they reinstated them on. So it's
stupid.
So they've broken the law. The city or
only
state,
if a judge says so.
I mean, yes, but it's going to happen probably once it goes through the process.
No, you get a federal agent to pull the judge aside and have a talk to with the judge. Like, perfectly fine, judge, right? Yes, feds.
I appreciate you guys indulging me on this topic.
Yeah, it's a topic that actually really interests me, and thank you for the call, because I just couldn't believe that this is going on. A private company going around, like, what if I just go start some company and start giving a pitch to let local police offices all around saying, hey, use our software, and it's just all about sitting around doing nothing, and it causes them, can anybody do this? Can any company just go around and show a PowerPoint?
Yes, they can.
The cops?
They can.
It's crazy.
They can. It's not the cops so much specifically, but the government, sure, yes.
Well,
and they do.
This is an appropriate time to bring it up. One of the callers, he's also in the host group, Greg Magarshek, right, has a program that he wants to work on, called like iConsent or something to that effect, where basically it's a two-party consent system to record interactions specifically with the police. Like the cop has his body cam, you have your little app, you got to do like a little handshake with the app, and then both parties get access to the video if it becomes adjudicated in court. So it makes, it holds both sides accountable to what the truth is in the interaction.
I just can't imagine a cop would ever agree to that, because they like being able to say, we'll give you the footage just when we want after we edit it.
But you don't pitch it to the police department, you pitch it to the city council, right, who hopefully you get, some backing on that, and then they mandate that the police departments use it.
It's not too bad of an idea.
I don't know if I like that idea or not.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people have a really big trouble getting their police footage, and then sometimes once they get it, the cops tell them it's their property, so they can't post it on YouTube. That happened to Press and H Now,
which is garbage, because it's not their property. If the government does it, it's in the public domain. Basically.
And they can't erase it because it's uploaded to the company service.
Free Talk Live, more Free Talk Live coming up, so don't go anywhere. Get your calls in 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, US President Donald Trump described the end of the Gaza conflict as the dawn of a new Middle East. On Monday, he visited Israel and Egypt, where he signed the official peace plan with other world leaders. The document, though, was not signed by Israel or Hamas, neither of which had representatives at the meeting. Ever since Kate Fisher sent this report.
Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, was there and shared a long handshake with Donald Trump in their first encounter since 2017. The Trump administration had denied Mr. Abbas a visa to travel to New York last month for the UN General Assembly. The next phases of any agreement between Israel and Hamas would include thornier issues the two sides are yet to agree on, including a full withdrawal of Israeli forces and whether Hamas would agree to lay down its weapons. It remains unclear whether such a brief gathering of leaders could make serious progress towards these goals.
The Gaza peace plan led to the release of the remaining 20 living Israeli hostages. Their families shared joy and relief at their return to Israel after 2 years in captivity. Ever since Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv was monitoring developments and sent this report.
Throughout the day, we could see helicopters in the sky, and they actually circled around and did flybys over Hostage Square, where tens of thousands of people had gathered from the early hours of the morning to watch the scenes of the hostages being released on large screens. Now, while there was relief there, the hostage families received bad news elsewhere. Of the deceased hostages, of which there are 28, it was announced that only 4 would be returning to Israel today. Israel then began releasing the Palestinian prisoners in exchange. That included some 1,700 people who were detained in Gaza over the last 2 years. It included children as well as women and medical professionals seized when Israel raided hospitals.
On Friday, President Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. That followed confirmation on Thursday that Trump will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin again, this time in Budapest, in the next couple of weeks. Their first summit in Alaska drew criticism for failing to make progress on ending the war in Ukraine. Ever since Pablo Gutierrez sent this report from Budapest.
U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the Budapest talks after separate phone calls with Putin and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The White House said both sides agreed to continue discussions that began in Alaska in August. Orban said he spoke with Trump on Thursday and called the conversation encouraging, saying Hungary is honored to host talks focused on peace in Ukraine. Trump said the meeting could happen within about 2 weeks, with senior advisors from both sides scheduled to meet next week to prepare the agenda.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. This week, President Donald Trump's former national security advisor turned political foe, John Bolton, pleaded not guilty to charges of unlawfully storing and sharing classified information. Bolton didn't speak to the media as he turned himself in at a Maryland courthouse early Friday morning, a day after a grand jury in the state had handed an 18-count indictment. FSN's Tony Waterman was following the court proceedings.
Prosecutors claim Bolton used personal email accounts to share more than 1,000 diary-like entries containing top-secret information with two relatives, including intelligence on foreign leaders and foreign attack plans. Bolton's lawyer says the records were unclassified and known to the FBI as far back as 2021. That was around the time Bolton's personal email was hacked by Iran. Prosecutors say he failed to mention that the hackers may have gained access to sensitive information. Bolton is the third Trump adversary to be indicted in recent weeks. Bolton saying the president is using the justice system to try to intimidate his opponents. Tony Waterman, Washington.
After weeks of unrest in Madagascar, the new military leader, Colonel Michael Randrianarina, was sworn in as the transitional president after the former one was ousted. Ever since Isaac Lucando sent this report.
As Madagascar prepares for Randrianarina's swearing in, the African Union has suspended the country following a military coup that ousted President Andry Rajoelina. Ironically, the same military unit that brought Rajoelina to power in 2009 has now removed him after weeks of youth-led protest over poverty, corruption, and rising living costs. According to the World Bank, about 75% of Madagascar's 30 million people live in poverty. The AU has also suspended Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea in the past following similar coups. Isaac Lucando, Dar es Salaam.
And that was the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Already struggling to get by on the basic necessities of day-to-day life, lunatics across the nation confirmed today that they are now barely able to afford the quickly rising price of car meat.
I've got 14 Barbra Streisands to feed and 3 more on the way. Day and night they shout, "We're hungry, Admiral. We want grade A Honda loaf. We want Nissan truck."
I just want to know what Bruno Mars plans to do about this. He sits around all day eating Audi ribeye and limousine bouillabaisse while we scrape by with taxi shanks. Meanwhile, the men at arms are still overseas fighting the war on Wheel of Fortune.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. That means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 to bring up whatever is on your mind, get in on the conversation with us, and get whatever you want to say out to everyone listening. I'd like to thank Alex for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Alex went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to Alex and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier with us. amps.freetalklive.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Mr. Penguin,
and Richie Rich.
And we have callers on the line. So Dave Ridley in Colorado. Dave Ridley, right?
Wyoming.
Wyoming still. Oh, awesome.
Yep.
I was just there.
Oh yeah, you guys could have met up.
Yeah, I was literally there like 2 days ago.
Jackson Hole or something like that?
Well, actually, it was probably more like 5 days ago because I just got back 2 days ago.
Is it around like Jackson Hole, something like that?
I was in Cody, Wyoming, actually.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not entirely sure what that is. I think that's kind of near Jackson Hole, actually, because it's all around Yellowstone. But yeah.
Cody's at least one I've heard of, and I've only ever driven through Wyoming, so somewhere around there, Dave Ridley.
If each of you just drove 4 hours apiece, you could have met in the middle.
That's the only problem, maybe not the only problem, but that's a huge problem with the idea that they could have been the Free State Project state. But anyways, Dave, what did you want to talk about tonight?
Never would have worked.
How much do you guys know about New Hampshire's education freedom account?
You know, I don't know a whole lot, but I would say Jody Underwood is the person to ask about that.
And I'll say zero.
This is a thing that goes back to roughly 2011. and basically it makes the money sort of follow the child instead of following the school. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah, we know that.
That's like the littlest amount I know. Yep.
Yeah, right.
That's like the basics.
fundamentals.
There we go.
Yeah, I remember watching a documentary, by John Stossel maybe 20 years ago, and he was talking about in this wonderful place called Belgium, the money follows the child instead of the school. And I thought, well, that'll never happen in the United States, I bet. But sure enough, it happened in New Hampshire, and there is news about that. It was in the Boston Globe. Apparently, the number of kids in the Education Freedom Account program has now doubled.
Oh, wow. So more people are
And
like,
it
yeah,
doubles.
we're not going to just send our kids directly to whatever school you guys want.
Yeah, it doubled in 1 year, almost doubled in 1 year.
I really hate this that I didn't write it down. Oh, yes, I did. So Jody Underwood has this thing called edopt.org. It's like education options, edopt.org. And you can go there and she will talk to you about all of your different options using the Freedom Education account. Like, you don't have to just homeschool. You don't have to just homeschool and maybe get some money for it. You can go to like a Montessori school, stuff
Right.
like that, get money to send your kids to a better school. And apparently it's a lot of complicated stuff to figure out, like, what do I
Where is the money
guarantee
come from?
for? The taxes that
Okay.
if you're a state or homeowner, I guess that's what you're paying. Or if you're a renter, you're paying your
Okay.
landlord's
I just want to say, like,
taxes.
people will look at it as a beneficial thing or a move in the right direction.
Mhm.
But if they're still using taxpayer funds to educate kids and people are still being compelled to pay who don't have kids,
Mhm.
right? It
That would
still
be a
should
huge win if even just a town in New Hampshire voted to get rid of the obligation for part of your property taxes to go to the schools. Because it's like for example, me and Ian, we don't have kids, and the Shire Free Church has to pay the property taxes on this building and the other building. And so that means we're paying for kids to go to apparently a horrible public school. Apparently this high school here does really badly, and there's fights there all the time, which I wouldn't expect in Keene, New Hampshire, but apparently.
either way, you're paying for it and you don't have kids.
Mhm.
And there's the problem right there. Not
Yeah.
where the money follows, right? It's that the money's being taken in the first place.
Yeah, it's the crazy thing is I don't really even object to the whole, like, paying for kids to go to school and stuff, but the idea that we're not just it's not just that we're paying to have kids go to school, we're paying for we're paying for other people's kids whose parents can afford to send them to school. And, like, why are we subsidizing it? It makes no sense. Like, at least if you made the argument that, like, okay, well, let's only cover the costs of,
Like super poor parents?
Yeah, poor parent, people whose parents are poor or whatever, so that everybody has an opportunity for education. That would make sense to me, but that's not what we're doing. It doesn't matter what your income level is.
Well, ironically, if you didn't have the public schools taking taxpayer funds, those poor kids would end up in, like, church schools because the church wants to indoctrinate them too.
Well, no, I don't
Right?
even think that would be the case. So, and here's why. So your income, basically, roughly incomes double when you get rid of taxation. Now, obviously, it's not going to double quite because just getting rid of the schools doesn't, it's about half your, well, in New Hampshire, at least, it's about half your property taxes. So it's basically a big portion, and we don't have any income taxes, right? So it's basically, what I'm trying to say is it's a huge, if you basically got rid of the education budget, right, and you only covered the poor kids, it really would work because
how are you covering the poor kids?
Well, right, because right, that's a good question, because you got rid of the education budget. So no, basically, if you got rid of the education budget completely, it would cut your taxes in half, right? And that would drop. Now that's not going to drop. Okay, so that's not actually going to drop you down to doubling your income. But the point is that if you did get rid of all taxation, you would double your income, right? Now you don't have to get rid of all taxes, though, right? So you could.
Well, presumably there'll still be poor people who can't afford to send their kids to a school.
Exactly. But the point is that if you eliminated all taxes, all of a sudden you'd have a very, 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 very small percentage of the population that was poor, right? Because if you have
and I'm suggesting that churches will likely take over those, and those kids would get, like, the Catholic school education, because there'd be a charitable fund to educate the very small amount of poor kids left in the community.
If you, like, completely eliminated public education altogether. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think you're totally wrong about that. And I don't even necessarily know that it would be just religious institutions or
Walmart
churches
school
that would do that. But I mean, certainly I think there's an interest, you know, a
The Walton School of
non-religious
Future Retailers.
a non-religious argument to fund, you know, schooling for you know, people who can't necessarily afford it. And I don't think you necessarily have to make some sort of religious argument for it.
Yeah, you might say like our society will be better if people are educated at least a certain amount.
Yeah. I mean,
sure, but how many charitable organizations are set up to educate schools, whereas how many private schools are religious-based institutions?
Well, there are lots in New Hampshire that are secular, but secular and not private. Sorry, secular private schools like Montessori's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are there plenty of them where they're going to absorb the poor people in the community?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, it's not like it's a thing that doesn't exist. It's not only religious or
but
public
they're not
school.
charitable.
I'm actually.
right? They're
I
private.
don't know about that, honestly. I
That's what
just
I'm
don't know.
saying. So the Montessori.
I never looked into
Okay,
it.
so the Montessori schools, I believe, if I recall how I was explained to me how they work, is that you pay based on your income, basically. So if
Okay.
you're poor, you don't pay much, but if you're rich, you pay a lot more.
That's crazy.
So even better, those
that even
poor
work?
kids will get a Montessori education.
Right. This whole idea that basically that if you get rid of government, right, education, that all of a sudden all these poor kids would have no education is nonsense. It's
I'm also suggesting that the religious institutes are incentivized to indoctrinate as well, and therefore will educate for free. through the charitable.
I mean, sure. There's probably certain truth to that too. And there's definitely a truth to the fact that their kids were getting into education before the government stepped in, right?
Right.
It wasn't this, thing where no kid would ever get an education, before government started, doing out the schools, education in the schools. But so it is the case though that not everybody would get an education, but you're also going back to a time period in which it wasn't the norm either. So there were also you have to remember, education got to the level that it did because governments forced it, right? They used violence to get kids to go. A lot of parents and kids, they would not voluntarily send their kids to school if given the choice. I don't necessarily.
Nor should they be compelled to.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't think
we should
be
get rid
compelled
of the compelling people to send their kids to school if they don't want to send their kids to school.
I don't think you're gonna see a whole lot of parents today not sending their kids to school.
Exactly. I think most would send their kids to school. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know if that's what you guys were saying, but I think most would still send their kids to school even if they had to pay for it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I
don't know if that's what you're saying, though.
I understand that. I understand that there was a time period in which parents wouldn't, but I think today things are very different than they were, and
I think people actually want to get rid of their kids because they didn't have their kids to have them with them all the time. I think a lot of people want to have their kids, raised by the school, and if not raised by school, maybe that's a little harsh and taking it too far. But they at least want, okay, now I send my kids away for the day, so I have my me time and be able to clean the house and be alone for a little while. Nothing really wrong with that. I'm just saying. I think most people think that way.
The problem with the problem you run into in modern society is that old timers like Gen X and before that, right? Parents did send their kids away for me time, right? They said, go outside and play. And then you came back when the lights were on and the street lights were on, right? But now if you do that, you get in trouble by the state, right? The kids get in trouble for being unparented, right? But if you eliminate the state system, kids will just be roaming the streets, playing stickball in the park or whatever whatever they were doing before.
But they were doing that after school. They weren't just not going to school at all. Because I think there's two things going on here. Parents want their me time, and I think most people would be well, my kids are going to get an education.
You don't think prior to schools, parents didn't just send their kids to go do chores outside?
Oh yeah, they did that, and also send them to work.
The primary reason,
regular work.
The primary reason
like
people
a job.
had kids back in the day was because they wanted them to work on farms. They needed the labor. So
I didn't say anything counter to any of that. I'm just simply saying today, school, the mandate for people to send their kids to school disappears. I think most people still send their kids to school, even if they have to pay for it, because it's at least today, I think most people would say,
right,
well, my kids are going to get an education.
But if they weren't getting,
and part of that's because the economics have changed, though, right? Nowadays people you're not going to. It's going to cost you more to have a kid than the kid is worth, right? But back in the day, you spent so little on the kid, and they became an extra hand, and they were basically slave labor.
I don't think most people consider that their kids aren't worth having like that.
Well, from an economic perspective, they're not. I mean, they're not going to generate more revenue for you than they cost.
Well, who's going to take care of us when we die?
Look, if you're,
we're going to spend money on that.
That's an interesting.
You need
not when we die, when we're old.
kids.
Oh,
I
don't have kids
because you don't have kids.
Well,
Yeah,
People
that's
with
what I'm
kids,
saying.
like, they
And I'm
count
saying
on the
that to me
kids.
and Chris specifically. I was saying, what are me and Chris going to do when we're
No, I'm in
old,
the same
not
boat.
when we
There's
die?
no chance my kid's taking care of me.
Okay, then what are we three going to do?
You better have a retirement plan with.
So
with-
maybe some people
that's well
see
capitalized.
their kids
I'm just gonna
as
die
a
early.
Yeah.
maybe some people see their kids as a plan for retirement, somebody taking care of them. So they I'm just saying people will consider their kid not that bad of an investment if they do certain things right. Like maybe don't make a kid that's, like needy when they're older. Like if you have a kid that's on drugs and you're enabling them and giving them all this money and they keep spending it on drugs, that kid's going to cost you a lot of money. But
even if they
eliminate-
don't, they're going to cost you a fortune.
If you eliminate the
kid.
state and school's still going to cost a parent money,
Mhm.
the parent's still going to decide, like, do I want to send my kid to school and have to pay for their education,
Mhm.
or do I just want to send them out into the world?
And then if they really had to spend their money on that and make this decision,
will,
I think
'cause
they
there's
would
no
care
state to
more.
pay for it.
Yeah, I think if they had to do that, they would care more about what a good job or bad job the school was doing. Like they'd be
Right.
there throwing a riot if the kids weren't learning to read.
or they won't send them to school at all, because then you save that income.
They wouldn't,
and you just let your kid run out
That's
and
going to
roam.
cost you. That's probably going to cost you more. But no, like I think what it comes down to is that parents would be more conscientious of what they're spending on their kids' education, and they're not going to spend it on frivolous stuff that they don't need. Is what it's going to come down to. So the cost of education will drop, and there's also going to be competition in the marketplace. Right
What-
now, there's no competition in the marketplace.
What do you
There's
think?
very little.
Caller, what do you think, Dave Ridley?
Well, I was going to actually have more to tell you, but I don't have a strong opinion about what you just said.
Yeah.
I just had another quote from the article.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I think this quote in the caterwauling by New Hampshire's increasingly marginalized authoritarian says it all. I think, quote, while proponents argue the program could save taxpayer money by allowing students to opt out of attending their local public school and instead use $4,200 or more in annual state funding toward educational expenses of their own choosing, opponents say the voucher-like arrangement is a scam that underwrites public education, unquote.
They're just using the word scam out of context in that case, because the idea that we steal money in any form to give it to any kid to go to private or public school is just as much a scam. But the people calling it a scam, the Freedom Education account's a scam, are saying it's a scam because they want specifically public education to continue. And I don't. If
It's
it
not
was
a bug,
up to me,
it's a feature.
if it was up to me, like, get stolen from and give vouchers to people who are oftentimes showing more and more to homeschool and take kids outside of the public school system, or get stolen from and they have to go to the public school system, I would choose to get stolen from, and the parents can get the choice to send their kids to Montessori, whatever, charter school, whatever. Because mostly because the public schools are just indoctrination centers for the state, and that's where horrible juries come from. So if you find yourself facing a jury and they've all been educated by the state, you're literally just being the judge, the prosecution, and the jury are all working for the state against you.
Hey, what's the cost of these vouchers? Is they're getting $4,000 a year?
That's what he said. It's 4,000.
4,000. So
that was the impression I got from the article, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so here's the thing, and it is probably $4,000 a year. So here's the other thing to keep in the context here, guys. Right? Like, so I don't actually know like different. So the way the whole system works is it depends on the town that you're in and such, but it's something around. I know like one of the towns, it was something around $21,000 a year a couple of years ago for the government to educate your kid. These education accounts, now don't get me wrong, that's stolen money. So is the $4,000. But the question,
there's also a lot of bureaucratic overhead in those figures.
Right, exactly. A lot of that's going to bureaucracy. That $21,000 or whatever that they're spending for each public student education. Again, that's average. Some kids cost more than others, so keep that in mind.
Special ed.
Yeah, right, exactly. So. But like in some respects, that $4,000 is a deal. But on the other hand, $4,000 is probably closer to an amount that parents are already paying through taxes, through property taxes. So it's more like compensation is sort of you can sort of look at it like that for what they're now getting back in terms of what they're paying. Whereas $20,000 a year, they're probably I'm trying to think what you might be paying on average in property taxes a year basically, but
well, again, this is because they also steal from non-parents.
Well, right, exactly.
Right?
So
they steal $20,000 from five families, or from 5 homeowners, and only one of those is has a student.
Right. So
4,000 goes back to the family who has the kid, and the rest of it's covered by people who don't have kids.
Well,
which is ridiculous.
Do you have anything else to say, Dave?
Are you against
Nothing
these
to
things?
add.
All right. Dave, are you still there?
Yes, but nothing to add.
All right. Thanks for the call, Dave. We have another caller on the line. Rufus, how are you listening tonight?
Call-in line.
Oh, okay, awesome. What's on your mind tonight, Rufus?
No, I just wanted to say thank you guys. I know it's tough with Ian being out to keep this broadcast on, and I appreciate it for being a long-time listener.
Awesome.
You guys putting in the effort every weekend. And, during the week, I normally listen to podcasts, and so I'll go to the deep scribes of SoundCloud and listen to, pick a day randomly of the year and listen. And I think it's pretty neat that all the episodes are still hosted in some form or fashion. So I really appreciate the show and your views of liberty. And Richie Rich, I like your show on podcast too.
Thank you.
The Anarchist Experience.
Yep. And you can hear Riley on that. And also Riley has his own podcast, The Anarcho Agenda. So if you haven't come across that one, figure out how to find that one.
Okay. But a question I did have was, what are your favorite hot wallets for crypto?
What is hot
mainly
wallet?
a Bitcoin guy.
It's like Edge Wallet.
I do have some Dash.
Yeah. So a lot of people around here use the Edge wallet.
Is hot
Okay.
just one that's not like just a physical wallet?
One that you use, it's like opposite of cold wallet. So you're not just storing your crypto, you're just
cold
using
storage
it.
hot. Okay.
Yeah, so for something that's in cold storage, it's really hard to get at the crypto because it's like maybe a print off, for example, on a piece of paper, and obviously you can't get the keys in order to access that wallet if it's just printed off and it's
Or
not
like a
stored anywhere.
Trezor that you just throw in a safe somewhere.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Trezor,
So,
the physical one.
Edge wallet, I think, is the go-to around here. And,
Exodus.
Okay.
That's like mine too.
Feather Wallet's a good one for Monero if you want that.
And I'll throw this out there because the company's very privacy focused. I have the wallet. I haven't done
Edge
anything
wallet?
with it. No, Proton.
Oh, okay.
So Proton, they have the free VPN. They have the free email accounts. You can pay for the upgrade.
Yeah. I'm
But
familiar with them.
But they
Proton.
also have a crypto wallet. So I would say look into that one just because the company is rather trustworthy. But Edge around here, like they said, Exodus and those things.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that.
And I appreciate you guys completing your mission. So thank you all so much.
Thank you for that. When I was a listener,
Carry on.
thank you so much for the call. When I was a listener, I also like to listen to I choose a random year because I don't really know if we have this available in anymore. But on Free Talk Live's website, just freetalklive.com, there was an archive page, and you could literally choose all the way back to 2006, I think it was, maybe 7.
Yeah.
And I would listen to really old ones, and I would just think their problems back then were nothing. Seriously,
right.
their problems were we can't believe that this cop pulled somebody over and said this to him. Oh my God, it's such an outrage.
But look at the slippery slope because
Yeah.
nobody
Right.
listened to Free Talk Live in 2006.
Yeah, seriously. And
Yeah.
also Ian's voice
We
was
could have
totally
solved
different.
this 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually heard this one that was really crazy where this cop arrested this guy illegally and then he was in this kid jail. So maybe it's a juvenile detention center that was a really particularly bad one. I think it was in Florida, and he
Florida is terrible.
he did a good job. Maybe a journalist came and did his story or something like that. So he told his whole tale of how he got thrown on the ground, tased all the time, stuff like that. It's no, they just didn't care back then. The cops,
in
everybody was their
2006, man,
fans.
In 2006, man, they were beating the
So if you
kids like you wouldn't believe, especially Texas and Florida and all that.
we have to think about the pendulum swing. I and lots of people, including I think Richard just said it. Maybe you've said it too, Chris, on the show. The pendulum swing is definitely going more towards the right, and we have to remember how the right is also bad in what ways. And you could do that by listening to old Free Talk Live.
Oh yeah.
Because they definitely were calling out the right all the time.
I'll also suggest back in 2006, 2007, Free Talk Live as a show was still contrails, right?
What do you mean?
People calling the government's smoking up the sky, man.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, that's just water vapor from the airplane, man.
Ian
Like,
still believes
they're not
that.
doing it.
It's ridiculous.
And then now it's
That
like
Ian
everyone
thinks
knows they're chemtrails.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, it's like basically you won't meet somebody really who is against that as a conspiracy theory anymore. It's almost like the moon landing. Most people in America actually believe the moon landing was fake. Maybe not 100% everybody, but it's like 60%.
I see. I have a hard time believing one way or the other because I think we just don't have the evidence either way. But
well, if we can't pass the asteroid belt, whatever it's called, I can't think of it right now. Van Allen radiation belt, then we just can't pass it. If we can't pass it today, we couldn't pass it in 1969. So
yeah, I follow your argument though.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere.
Never, ever send a follow-up email asking, "Did you get my email?" Email 101. If it didn't bounce back undeliverable, it got where you sent it. And avoid transmedia pestering, like calling to ask, "Did you get my email?" or emailing to say, "I left you a voicemail." If your emails and voicemails aren't being acknowledged, your problem isn't technology, it's technique. Is your message concise and understandable? Have you boiled it down to seem as relevant as possible to the recipient? In other words, is it the opposite of spam or junk mail? All of this really matters if you're a job seeker. But even if you're not, with money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, US President Donald Trump described the end of the Gaza conflict as the dawn of a new Middle East. On Monday, he visited Israel and Egypt, where he signed the official peace plan with other world leaders. The document, though, was not signed by Israel or Hamas, neither of which had representatives at the meeting. Ever since Kate Fisher sent this report.
Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, was there and shared a long handshake with Donald Trump in their first encounter since 2017. The Trump administration had denied Mr. Abbas a visa to travel to New York last month for the UN General Assembly. The next phases of any agreement between Israel and Hamas would include thornier issues the two sides are yet to agree on, including a full withdrawal of Israeli forces and whether Hamas would agree to lay down its weapons. It remains unclear whether such a brief gathering of leaders could make serious progress towards these goals.
The Gaza peace plan led to the release of the remaining 20 living Israeli hostages. Their families shared joy and relief at their return to Israel after 2 years in captivity. Ever since Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv was monitoring developments and sent this report.
Throughout the day, we could see helicopters in the sky, and they actually circled around and did flybys over Hostage Square, where tens of thousands of people had gathered from the early hours of the morning to watch the scenes of the hostages being released on large screens. Now, while there was relief there, the hostage families received bad news elsewhere. Of the deceased hostages, of which there are 28, it was announced that only 4 would be returning to Israel today. Israel then began releasing the Palestinian prisoners in exchange. That included some 1,700 people who were detained in Gaza over the last 2 years. It included children as well as women and medical professionals seized when Israel raided hospitals.
On Friday, President Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. That followed confirmation on Thursday that Trump will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin again, this time in Budapest, in the next couple of weeks. Their first summit in Alaska drew criticism for failing to make progress on ending the war in Ukraine. Ever since Pablo Gutierrez sent this report from Budapest.
U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the Budapest talks after separate phone calls with Putin and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The White House said both sides agreed to continue discussions that began in Alaska in August. Orban said he spoke with Trump on Thursday and called the conversation encouraging, saying Hungary is honored to host talks focused on peace in Ukraine. Trump said the meeting could happen within about 2 weeks, with senior advisors from both sides scheduled to meet next week to prepare the agenda.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And if you're tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites, it's still going on. I'm totally being, not just shadow banned. I think I'm being completely, throttled right now because of whatever reason they want to give. I haven't actually tried to go and fight them about it or anything yet, but I'm paying for the
hair porn.
Oh my god! Where did you get this term? I keep saying that in the break.
I made it up.
But
I am curious which social media.
Twitter.
Sites you're talking about.
The only one that I really use. It's called X now.
Oh well, there you go. It was bound to happen.
But that one was doing a lot better for a while, and something happened where they gave me a little notification that says I'm currently being throttled until they can check my account and make sure I'm not breaking any rules. Which, what the heck? I've never gotten a notification like that. The next morning, it said, all right, we reviewed your account and it's good to go. You didn't break any rules. So I was like, okay. Never has it ever recovered. People just don't see my stuff. It used to get every time I posted anything, the stupidest thing that got not very many likes because it wasn't that great of a, something, just me saying something like, I'm hungry, would get 200 views. That was minimum. And now it's no matter what I post, it always gets 40 views.
Well, if you feel like you've been shadow banned, check out social.freetalklive.com.
Yeah, sorry, I'm finished the ad.
Where even less people will see your post.
It says Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. And it really just depends on you. If you use it, then more people are using it. Invite your friends.
You don't even have to use social.freetalklive.com. That's the great thing about decentralization and federation is that there's thousands of servers out there and you could join any one of them. We recommend social.freetalklive.com explicitly because we're libertarians and we don't want to censor you, right? So other instances may try and censor you.
Or set up your own.
Right. You could also set up your own potentially. Well, it's really actually kind of hard to do and maintain and all that, but anyway, but there's thousands, so it at least is more decentralized and it's definitely federated. So,
are you tired of getting your message out to 200 people? Join Mastodon, where you can get it out to 12.
Depends on which Mastodon. This depends on the server.
It really does. There are people on Mastodon. I know Twitter is so much larger, but there are a lot of people on Twitter. There are a lot of people on Mastodon. It's just it's a matter of actually building up your base, your following, and letting people know that you have it. I mean, if you don't tell anybody you've got it, nobody's going to follow you, right?
Where are you going to tell them? On Twitter.
Maybe on Twitter. Maybe
I moved to Mastodon.
Ian did this kind of cool thing where he used to every single tweet he would put out. He put it with a Whalebird app, which basically sends it out to whatever things you want. But whenever it got sent to X, it would be just this want to see the full version, go to Mastodon.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was automatic somehow.
And there's all sorts of different ways you can tell people about the fact that you're on Mastodon. I have it on my business cards, for example. You could post it if you have a website, maybe a business website. You post a link to it. There's all sorts of different ways that you can promote the fact that you're on Mastodon, right? Mastodon has gotten a lot more popular over the years. It is still a little bit more niche, but it doesn't get bigger unless you use it. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So if you want people to actually hear you.
I think we're doing pretty good with Matrix because way more people use the Matrix than back when we first started doing it in Keen, 2021 or something like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now I have multiple people that I only talk to on Matrix. Signal is still my favorite. I'm sorry. I don't care if the FBI is monitoring it. No, I'm just kidding. I do care, but it's just my favorite.
Well, I think the moral of the story is don't here's the problem with Matrix and all encrypted instant messaging applications that you use on your phone. The government has the ability to, and this is not paranoia, it may be, it's not that this is happening to every person, but the government does have the ability to remotely update the firmware on your phone, the modem firmware, and that has access to the RAM, which means any kind of encryption you do on your phone is a little bit pointless if they really want to listen in. So it doesn't matter whether you have Matrix or Mastodon or Telegram or anything that's encrypted based. Or I'm sorry, Matrix or Signal or Telegram. And I'm presuming that we're talking about the encrypted portions of Telegram because it's not encrypted entirely, or it's not end-to-end encrypted anyway.
So only use it on a Linux-based machine.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like it's Matrix still, yes, much better. Use Matrix. Highly encourage you to use Matrix over Signal, or Telegram for that matter. But yeah, it's still, you keep things in perspective and realize that, the government, if you actually need that security and privacy, you can't use your phone. You've got to use something like a Pine phone or a computer in order to gain that security that you need. But the thing is that for the majority of us, it's not that level of security that we need. We just need to undermine mass surveillance.
Yes.
That's the key thing.
Most people are not organizing to overthrow and undermine the government, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. I think that's kind of key here. It's nobody has to be perfect, but if we all do a little bit to whatever degree, we have the time and energy and effort to put into it.
Except crypto at your
there are no insurrection
businesses.
meetings being held at the Boston Meeting House.
We'll all be a little bit better off for it.
I'm going to go to the phones. We have Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, what's on your mind tonight? What do you want to talk about?
Yes, our delivering speedy camera system, because only 48% of the people pay. And
Excellent.
then
Pay for what? Sorry?
Speeding camera tickets.
Oh, okay. There's their tickets when they get a speeding.
That's really awesome, actually.
It might be awesome to you guys, but it's
Well,
always
we're the ones that matter.
behooves me. But they still want to keep the camera program going.
Don't you
they
want them to
only
keep the
get
program going? Isn't this one of your big pet projects?
The city is going to keep, as long as we got the same mayor elected. If Keller goes back in, they're going to keep continuing it.
Yeah.
And half the people are just getting away with not paying, and then what it is, they run around with no license plate.
Oh, that's even better. I mean, geez, where do you live again? Because I think I might be. You're tempting me to.
It doesn't
to
matter
wanna move
anymore,
there.
Chris. That's not even that doesn't even work anymore, Sarah and Chris, because the flock cameras and all these different cameras that cops use, they're now recording everything, like every dent your car has and scratch. So they're sure, even if you took your license plate off, what car that is.
Good. Then we
Really
can get rid of the whole
Yeah,
license
I mean,
plate system.
Okay, so Bonnie, I'm not disagreeing with you that's a thing. I don't know though what the rate of like false positives is.
Oh,
and that
they're
kind of thing.
actually huge for false positives, even with the license plates right now. They've been like
right.
Parents
So-
and their kids on the ground at the road at gunpoint because they thought that they were like, oh, this guy's just driving around and we know that he's got a hostage or something like that. And in reality, the license plate reader thought the L was a T or whatever.
Well, basically, what I'm trying to say, Bonnie, is I think getting rid of driver or license plates is actually a positive move forward, because the false positive rate for the technology, the AI technology, is probably worse than it is with the
For
license
now.
plates. Right?
You don't even need a license plate.
And you're right. You're probably right for now. So this is sort of a short-term solution potentially to solving the mass surveillance problem that we have as a result of modern technology and the result of stupid choices to adopt license plate system.
License plates are a scam. All cars already have a VIN number.
I mean, I think they're trying to solve different problems, but okay.
No, you just put the VIN number big on the back of the car.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right? Then you just do it one time, never have to do it again.
Yeah.
What's that, Sarah?
These speeding cameras, they do need a license plate to give a ticket. So they're running around with no license plate, but I know this is state of New Mexico. I don't understand this place. And then
What do you want them
why
to do
would that-
differently? How do you want them to go and collect the other 52%? Do you want them to kick doors down and issue warrants?
I met a guy. He goes, I live in Rio Rancho. I ignore the tickets from there. I ignore Albuquerque. I just ignore them. I just throw them away. And, that's fine with me.
Did you say you met a guy?
Well, a man with a kid, too. He's a parent. I mean, he's raising a kid.
Oh, and he told you that. He told you that's what he does. He just throws them away. Oh, okay.
I mean, that's what I used to
He
do.
ignores all of it. And I'm just like, look at it. He's grown. Like, he's like 35 or 40 years old, raising a 8-year-old daughter. And he's like, well, I tear all of it up and I just ignore all of it.
Awesome.
And
I've
it's
thrown away
awesome.
any number of parking tickets. Not here in New Hampshire, but like back home. What are you going to do? Can't do anything.
I throw away every time they try to get me to get a dog license. Nothing has happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Have you guys thrown away? Actually, maybe you shouldn't answer this, but have you guys thrown away the census questionnaires? Yeah. That
I don't think I've ever
and they
gotten one.
threaten you with $10,000 fines or up to $10,000 fines, but they've never actually enforced it. So like,
I don't think I've ever
like the
gotten
risk
one
is-
here in New Hampshire.
I was renting in Hawaii, and the landlord like gave me the census form to fill out because he was a Chinese immigrant, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I just chucked it. I don't know if he got in trouble.
The census lady tricked me in San Antonio. I looked out my little peephole after a knock, and I'm like, oh, I must have a package because no one's there. I open the door, and it's the tiniest, like 4'10" Mexican lady, and she's just there, and she was so nice. I just answered her question.
Terrible.
Wow. Yeah.
Fell for it.
When the census lady came to my place, I asked her nicely to get off my property, and she continued to talk to me, and I was like, Bob, grab the shotgun in the most hick voice I could possibly. She got the message, and she, obviously I wasn't going to threaten her directly, but
I can't
my
believe
point was to send a
she
message.
didn't go to the cops over that.
Well,
Seriously, like I'm not saying you did something wrong.
Yeah.
I don't believe that, but I can't believe that a census lady doesn't believe that you did something wrong and go to the cops and then they come and talk to you.
Right,
My
That's
favorite.
crazy.
Well, they're actually instructed to
de-escalate.
De-escalate. So like I wasn't.
They don't get paid much, and they're seasonal.
Yeah, and it's just not worth it. I mean, in theory, like actually, you know what would
They're
what I would,
barely government workers.
What I would expect to honestly to be more likely is for them to like mark you off as like, hey, you should prosecute this person for not filling out the census. But in the end of the day, the reality is there's not really any enforcement on it. So unless and I'm not saying there never will be, there probably will be at some point, and it will probably be against the libertarian who. Against a prominent libertarian, and it will be the only case. And the reason they'll do it won't be because you didn't fill out the census. It'll be because the government is trying to snub you out in order to kick you off the air, basically, for Free Talk Live or something like that. It'll be like a co-host or something like somebody who's more prominent in our community who's actually making a difference.
My favorite form to ignore is when you fly into Hawaii, while the plane is in landing. They hand out mandatory forms from like the Department of Agriculture, where you guys say like how many people are you're coming with, what kind of stuff you got.
Do they ask about specific plants, like when you drive into California?
It might be similar to that, and I've never filled one of those out since
They
coming
stop
to
you
the ideas of freedom.
when you're driving into California, and they're like, there are different invasive plant species. They ask you if you have it in the car, not like weed or something like that, but like a literal weed.
Well, they've never stopped me on the plane. Like
Yeah.
I
guess that's the equivalent.
I've left the form. I've not grabbed the pen.
Oh, nice.
I've not turned it in. I've just gotten off the plane like a normal person.
Excellent.
You're in violation of federal law. Ooh.
Whoa.
Well,
What are you
come
gonna do,
after me.
kick me out of Hawaii?
I know, right? Like, I'm like, come after me. If you want me, come after me. It's like, and the reality is, it's not even worth it. Like, it's just a stupid thing that people do it because they think like there's some like force behind it. But it's most of the stuff that like people do is there's not really any real force behind it. But that doesn't mean they don't go after people for stupid stuff or stuff that it's like a lot of it's just like politics, right? Like they're just going after people because somebody doesn't like somebody else, and this is just a means of going after that person.
And I know that when I don't turn it in, it's absolutely legal to not turn it in because no judge has found me guilty.
You've not broken any law.
I've not broken any laws.
There is some truth to this. You don't necessarily know if a law is even constitutional until it's been enforced. So,
what's really interesting is that we finally got to put a speeding camera on Central Boulevard.
Really
Even though it's a street, it's actually a federal highway. So the speeders kept the cameras off of Central because they say it doesn't belong to the city; it belongs to the federal government, like the freeways. So we finally got to overrule it, It's going right through Albuquerque. It's like a city street. So we finally got to put it on.
I mean, you still didn't answer my question, though. Like, how do you want them to enforce and collect the other 52%?
Oh, you said that 48% don't pay?
She said only 48% do pay.
Only 48%, okay.
So the 52% that don't pay, what does Sarah want done with them?
Well, I would like to, the collection agency, have them pay. You know,
So, Sarah,
I think that is fair.
Sarah, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you want the people who own the vehicles to pay, or do you want the violators to pay?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what the court couldn't figure out in my case when I had a parking ticket, and it's...
Well, you know, the thing is that the way that it's set up is the people that own the car. It's their license plate, and they know...
So you want to punish innocent people then?
Potentially.
I'm going to be renting a car tomorrow. I should go through all the tolls and cover my face.
That's actually probably not a good idea.
No, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I'm going to be renting a car tomorrow. Should the owner of that car, instead of the driver, be getting all these tickets?
Look, I've got the Montana plates on my car. I think you do as well, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We have a mutual person we know who I spoke to about this, and they said, like, I just run the tolls.
Yeah.
Because it's a trust or corporation of Montana.
I'm against that.
That New Hampshire has no jurisdiction over. So what are they going to do?
Yeah. So I want to clarify something. I don't run the tolls the way that person is apparently telling you that they do. I will pay the tolls if the tolls exist, meaning that I can go through a toll booth, give them cash.
Yeah.
But if they're just saying they're going to bill me, well, I never get the bills because Montana doesn't participate in Easy Pass because it doesn't have any tolls. And if you never get the bills, how are you supposed to pay?
I agree with you in the same exact thing, Chris, because I was telling my friend that I think we should just go through and not pay, and he actually convinced me. He also has Montana plates. That actually we shouldn't be doing that just because we don't want New Hampshire to start being like, we have to go after these Montana people for any specific for any reason, like some stupid reason like that. Like if they bring it up in the House of Representatives, like I think that they could start trying to go after us.
I think the counter to that is get rid of the tolls, right? Like, I mean, the better...
Yeah, those tolls actually probably already paid. This is one thing I heard. The tolls around Manchester, they were only supposed to be temporary.
Yeah, right.
Like everything that's only supposed to be temporary to pay for the initial cost of the thing.
And to be fair, the governor, Sununu at the time, did remove the tolls in Merrimack.
Oh.
On the turnpike for that reason. It's like, you paid them, it served its purpose, and we're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So,
but the crazy thing is, like, we would bring more money if we just got rid of. I'm trying to think what it would be. It would be if we got rid of the tolls. And then we offered registration to anybody who wants it, regardless of where they live, right? This is what Montana already does. And they bring in, it was done by accident initially, but they didn't get rid of it because it brings in a massive amount of money into the state from people out of state. And one of the reasons they don't want to get rid of the toll, the one toll in New Hampshire, technically we have a few, but it's basically one main toll on the interstate in New Hampshire, is because the state is getting money from people mostly from out of state. So the argument to get rid of the toll
when they're on vacation.
Right. So the argument to get rid of the toll is, well, first of all, more people coming through the state would be good, more from an economic standpoint, because we'll bring in more money through other means like, restaurant, taxes, things like that. But also, and of course hotels and that sort of thing. But also, if we get rid of the tolls, then we're not part of Easy Pass, and that means that we'll be very much people will be interested in getting New Hampshire registration because they will not have to deal with the tolls in other states. So it'll both save them money and it'll bring us more money into New Hampshire. And that's just by being more privacy, being more privacy conscious than other states.
Yeah, I don't understand the toll because I don't really drive what you are saying too much.
She doesn't drive.
You have to pay to use the roads here.
Yeah, well, some roads, and it's not even a lot really here, isn't it? Like you said, it's just one in...
We literally have
Hampshire?
one main interstate. I think was it 93, something like that?
Yeah.
That goes through New Hampshire up to Maine, I think it is. And that's basically where the money, all the revenue is from. Technically, there's like some tolls, I think, along the shore.
Oh, yeah, I never go there.
There's a couple. There's like a toll booth that goes north into further north into New Hampshire. And there's also like an east-west toll if you're going to or from Maine.
There's really no good reason for New Hampshire to have tolls. It's like, I get it's a revenue generator and they want to avoid taxing like New Hampshire residents. I get that, but there's other ways to generate revenue that would bring in far more revenue anyway and eliminate the toll and just make New Hampshire so much more prosperous.
Well, and they charge by axle, right? So you could eliminate the 2 axle tolls and just make the truckers pay a little bit more.
I mean, there's all sorts of ways you could do it, right? But certainly, you could keep them. You could even keep the trucker toll, as you're saying, because that's all electronic anyway, and I think it's federally mandated anyway. But like for cars, passenger cars and trucks,
that's what I'm
just
saying.
get rid of it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just eliminate the 2 axles.
Yeah.
The passenger vehicles.
It's not even like we have to get rid of all tolls like on day one. You could phase it in too. So you could get rid of it on trucks as well, commercial trucks, but just phase it in over time.
Well, I'm sure Sarah would be pro tolls. Anything to
Libertarians
piss off
are
drivers.
pro tolls.
Well,
because
if
that's how private roads would pay for themselves.
But this is the thing.
Nah.
Now we have government running tolls, and
There's different ways to deal with
and now they're just
costs.
stealing money after costs have already been paid. It's so crazy. Like it's when we don't even get to pay for the maintenance of our roads. Like if the tolls did that, that would be so much better than gunpoint.
And again, that's why.
Thank you for the call, Sarah.
That's why the truckers ought to pay more, because the weight of their vehicles do far more damage.
And they also cause way more
Truckers
accidents.
and electric vehicles, because those things are heavy.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that they were more heavy. Well,
They're significantly heavier than your standard passenger car, to the point where their tires wear much quicker.
Well, I don't really want to continue on this conversation. It's not even really what Sarah brought up. I think we should talk about whether or not these ChatGPT conversations can be used against you in court. Also, is the independent, is that like a foreign, is that like English or something?
Yeah, I think it's a British outlet.
Okay, because I started reading it here. It says, in the early hours of 28 August. It's like, who writes it like that?
The rest of the world.
Oh, okay. Oh, did they write it like that in Hawaii? I'm just kidding. Did they write it like that in Hawaii?
No.
I'm just kidding.
We're unfortunately Americans. Coerced Americans.
In the early hours of 28 August, a quiet car park, oh, it is England.
Definitely.
On a college campus, I'm surprised I didn't say university, in Missouri, became the scene of a violent vandalism rampage. In the space of 25 minutes, 17 cars were left with shattered windows, broken mirrors, ripped off wipers, and dented chassis. What's that?
It's like the frame of the car.
Okay. Causing tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage. After a month-long investigation, police had gathered evidence that included shoe prints, witness statements, and security camera footage, but it was an alleged confession to ChatGPT that eventually led to charges against 19-year-old college student Ryan Schaefer. Oh my gosh. So why would you admit anything to ChatGPT? That's the dumbest thing.
Well, for back up a second, it's not really that unreasonably dumb. It's just the way the system works. People don't understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're typing something into ChatGPT, a company is getting that information that you're typing in, right? And that information, I presumably, at least in this case, was looked up, and they searched that history of like all users and were like, oh, hey, this guy is a suspect because he typed this in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not unreasonable for somebody to think that what they're typing into their computer is private, right? Or it's with a bot. It's with it's not with a non-human. Like the people don't understand how much they're being tracked.
No, I think it's pretty dumb.
And their privacy being
assessment
violated.
of that is it's dumb at this stage of life, 202025, this stage of evolution.
Do you think it's dumb because the person should have known?
They should know that
I understand.
this can be used against them. They should, if you're going to commit crimes, at least be a little aware of what the court system's like.
Look, there was just recently like a ruling against Google within the last couple of months because people didn't understand that incognito didn't really mean incognito.
Oh my goodness.
So people are dumb.
Well, people are dumb.
This is true.
I'm not saying it's not common to be dumb. I'm just
Right.
saying that people are dumb.
So someone goes like, well, ChatGPT, I'm in my incognito browser, right?
Wow.
There's no way to trace this to me.
Hey, don't remember this ChatGPT, but I gotta
Right.
admit something to you. Wow.
Oh,
Maybe confessions in churches are a good thing.
Yeah.
So people will get that out somewhere else. As long as it's not recorded.
I think
Not your therapist.
I just
ChatGPT Jesus, remember that? There was an AI Jesus in
Yes.
Swedish or something like that church that we covered before. Well, more Free Talk Live coming up. More on this, more on whatever you want to talk about. 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live, and I said moron. More Free Talk Live coming up.
Free Talk Live.
When there are cameras around, it doesn't make a difference. There were people with video cameras all over this event yesterday.
It looked like these people were trying to get away, honestly.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. They were being
these weren't
shot.
people rushing towards the cop phalanx.
Nope.
That's right.
They were trying to get away.
And those batons weren't rubber like the bullets were.
They were either trying to get away or they were members of the news media trying to cover the event.
Right.
Police are supposed to be there to protect and serve.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, to be peace officers. And instead, they're creating war.
And, of course, the chief of police is claiming he'll investigate. What they're going to investigate, I don't know. It's going to be very difficult to identify the officers in this video footage because there were so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
There was an army of police officers out there, and every single one of them was participating in the attack on unarmed, innocent people.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, US President Donald Trump described the end of the Gaza conflict as the dawn of a new Middle East. On Monday, he visited Israel and Egypt, where he signed the official peace plan with other world leaders. The document, though, was not signed by Israel or Hamas, neither of which had representatives at the meeting. Ever since Kate Fisher sent this report.
Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, was there and shared a long handshake with Donald Trump in their first encounter since 2017. The Trump administration had denied Mr. Abbas a visa to travel to New York last month for the UN General Assembly. The next phases of any agreement between Israel and Hamas would include thornier issues the two sides are yet to agree on, including a full withdrawal of Israeli forces and whether Hamas would agree to lay down its weapons. It remains unclear whether such a brief gathering of leaders could make serious progress towards these goals.
The Gaza peace plan led to the release of the remaining 20 living Israeli hostages. Their families shared joy and relief at their return to Israel after 2 years in captivity. Ever since Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv was monitoring developments and sent this report.
Throughout the day, we could see helicopters in the sky, and they actually circled around and did flybys over Hostage Square, where tens of thousands of people had gathered from the early hours of the morning to watch the scenes of the hostages being released on large screens. Now, while there was relief there, the hostage families received bad news elsewhere. Of the deceased hostages, of which there are 28, it was announced that only 4 would be returning to Israel today. Israel then began releasing the Palestinian prisoners in exchange. That included some 1,700 people who were detained in Gaza over the last 2 years. It included children as well as women and medical professionals seized when Israel raided hospitals.
On Friday, President Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. That followed confirmation on Thursday that Trump will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin again, this time in Budapest, in the next couple of weeks. Their first summit in Alaska drew criticism for failing to make progress on ending the war in Ukraine. Ever since Pablo Gutierrez sent this report from Budapest.
U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the Budapest talks after separate phone calls with Putin and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The White House said both sides agreed to continue discussions that began in Alaska in August. Orban said he spoke with Trump on Thursday and called the conversation encouraging, saying Hungary is honored to host talks focused on peace in Ukraine. Trump said the meeting could happen within about 2 weeks, with senior advisors from both sides scheduled to meet next week to prepare the agenda.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. This week, President Donald Trump's former national security advisor turned political foe, John Bolton, pleaded not guilty to charges of unlawfully storing and sharing classified information. Bolton didn't speak to the media as he turned himself in at a Maryland courthouse early Friday morning, a day after a grand jury in the state had handed an 18-count indictment. FSN's Tony Waterman was following the court proceedings.
Prosecutors claim Bolton used personal email accounts to share more than 1,000 diary-like entries containing top-secret information with two relatives, including intelligence on foreign leaders and foreign attack plans. Bolton's lawyer says the records were unclassified and known to the FBI as far back as 2021. That was around the time Bolton's personal email was hacked by Iran. Prosecutors say he failed to mention that the hackers may have gained access to sensitive information. Bolton is the third Trump adversary to be indicted in recent weeks. Bolton saying the president is using the justice system to try to intimidate his opponents. Tony Waterman, Washington.
After weeks of unrest in Madagascar, the new military leader, Colonel Michael Randrianarina, was sworn in as the transitional president after the former one was ousted. Ever since Isaac Lucando sent this report.
As Madagascar prepares for Randrianarina's swearing in, the African Union has suspended the country following a military coup that ousted President Andry Rajoelina. Ironically, the same military unit that brought Rajoelina to power in 2009 has now removed him after weeks of youth-led protest over poverty, corruption, and rising living costs. According to the World Bank, about 75% of Madagascar's 30 million people live in poverty. The AU has also suspended Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea in the past following similar coups. Isaac Lucando, Dar es Salaam.
And that was the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Officials at PepsiCo announced today the upcoming launch of Mountain Dew Cineblast after the company's market research team unknowingly fell victim to a malicious focus group that convinced them cinnamon-flavored Mountain Dew was the next big thing.
The people in the focus group, they couldn't get enough of it. And then they said, the more cinnamon, the better. So we are going to put in more cinnamon. We are really excited for people to try this product.
According to PepsiCo's data, all gathered from a single group of ill-intentioned respondents, customers of all ages will love the new soft drink's murky brownish-green color and will soon be lining up to try the carbonated beverage jam-packed with ground cinnamon. Various members of the focus group told reporters they believed the company had made a great decision.
Cineblast is the best. I mean, I can't wait to tell all of my friends to go buy this thing.
Yeah. The only way they can make it better is if they took a couple of raw eggs, mixed them up in the bottle. People would go nuts.
This is the Onion News Network.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. That means that you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 and bring up whatever is on your mind. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Mr. Penguin.
And Rich.
And we have a caller already, so I'm going to go to the phones. We have Alu in Virginia. And Alu, you already mentioned tonight, I brought up Due Process, your book,
your name got
Presumed
dropped.
Guilty. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So the caller from last night reminded me of another great reason why the Alu Axelman School of Law that I create one day in my dreams after a successful legal career, my law school is going to be the greatest ever. You want to hear the first reason before I get to the next reason? The first one is the major one. Most lawyers, one of the big issues is they don't understand what it's like to be in the client's shoes, because according to the Axelman wildly guessing statistics, 90% of lawyers have never been arrested or a similar place in the criminal justice system, which is fine, but they don't really understand what it's like. And they, lawyers and judges and other legal scholars, and scholars in air quotes, they would say that if you're arrested and you're in jail for a few days and then after a few months after trial you get acquitted or dismissed, then it's no harm done, and you can't sue the government for harm. It was temporary.
What?
And
That's what most lawyers say. That's what he's saying.
If that's what they're saying, like from a legal perspective, that's probably true in most cases. But like that should be the way it is. That's crazy.
I think Alu's saying that he really thinks that they think it's fine and really no harm was done because they've never been in that.
Except for crazy anarchists like Penguin and Bonnie and Alu, pretty much everyone in the mainstream would say it's totally fine. There's no issue legally, ethically, constitutionally.
Yeah.
But anyway, the great thing is in my law school, like I legitimately want to create a law school where every prospective student will have to sign some kind of waivers. We'll figure that out legally with our legal department, but they will be at some point in the 3 years arrested for a false accusation of a serious crime, put into the local university police cell and or the local city police cell for, on a Friday night, so for the weekend till Monday morning, they're bailed out, and then face charges for a few weeks or months and have their entire life in doubt and think they're not going to pass law school, they'll be kicked out or in prison for life and reputation ruined, and go through that based on false charges, totally false. And, just to make them understand and appreciate the severity of the criminal justice system, the importance of due process.
Sounds like an initiation ritual.
Yeah, it's like a new Stanford prison experiment.
This doesn't even sound. This doesn't even sound like it would like work because like from like if it's going to be like not real, you're not going to fear it like you would a real person would fear it.
I think he meant a real arrest.
No, we're really going to do it, is what I mean.
Yeah, but you don't know that
But if they sign the waiver, they know it's
But
coming.
presumably you're not going to be convicted or you're not going to spend a lot of time in jail because otherwise nobody would ever go to your law school.
We're going to figure out the details later. I still have like 40 years before I open up law school.
Alu Axelman initiation ritual.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think people need to appreciate, like, the importance of due process and that being arrested itself, and that's, I think, being in jail for a few days. If you don't come home to your wife, you might have an issue with your wife when you get back, and she might be pissed for a few days. If you don't show up to work, in my business, you're fired. In EMS, you don't show up to work. You're an hour late, 2 hours late, and you miss a whole shift, you're fired. And then you lose your job. Yep. And then you can't make a car payment or a house payment, you're homeless, and then you're dead. So being in jail for a day or two, it's actually a very severe issue. And, the government should be held accountable if they do that falsely. It's not like it's no issue.
What would your definition for speedy trial then be? Like how soon should people get trials?
Ideally, immediately. Realistically, it could be days or weeks and not months or years.
Okay.
So I think that's a major element is having speedy trials, but also I want a way higher threshold for probable cause in order to even make an arrest. And obviously, throughout presumed guilty, I have a lot of other ideas for reforms. But like even other things, like my father often mentions, if you're a businessman with a suit that costs $1,000, once a cop tells you to get on the floor and your suit's kind of ruined because it tears because you're on the floor, and a cop arrests people and throw them on the floor pretty often, that cop owes you $1,000, or they can't even, that's real damage they've done already, even if they let you go an hour later. So, like any arrest, there's always at least some damage done that's real damage. So that's my idea for law school.
For sure.
But anyway, to get to but that's not the reason I called.
Okay.
Like Skeeter, I called for a different reason.
Son of a.
The different.
It's interesting how people like get they call really about multiple things in the end, but they get away with like
I'll allow it
scheming their way into other
Judge Bonnie.
I'm about one thing. It's ideas for my law. So that was the first idea. The second one I was writing up last night is the AI issue. The massive issue with AI and ChatGPT is pathetic because it's obviously making people not know how to write anymore because they rely on ChatGPT. Now, me being brilliant, I have a great idea that I'm sure is the most creative idea in the universe. People can write with pens and paper. How about that? Go back to old school. I'm sure others had the same idea, but go back to the old school way, like us in school growing up and our kids and our parents before them. And in my law school, and I think in every school, but especially in my law school, kids, at least half the assignments will be with literally pen and paper, no phones or electronics allowed in the entire classroom.
Yeah.
And it'll train people to know how to write, because what I'm afraid of is we're going to have a generation of lawyers and all other students and professionals who have no clue how to write.
I'm
They've relied on
going to push back on that one.
Isn't I mean, okay, so I think typing is also important, but like, isn't it also like the case that are like it just blows my mind that there are like kids who are going into elementary school and they're not teaching them to write. Like if they're not doing that, like what are they doing? You know, like what are they learning?
I'm also say who cares.
When it's your lawyer, yeah, maybe you want your lawyer to know how to use ChatGPT. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I'm going to push.
That's why I said half the assignments, half and half.
Yeah,
Obviously, the future is very likely going to have computers and more LLMs and AI.
I think you're just like showing your age a little bit when you say that, right?
He's 89.
Well, I'm old, right? And so I went to school at a time where like mental math was a thing, and I had the math teacher who said like you're never gonna have like a calculator in your pocket at all times.
Yeah.
But we live in
Not
a world
me.
where you do.
Yeah.
Right.
My school's literally told us we'll have calculators. Go ahead, Olu. Sorry.
Yes to both. Again, I'm not anti-technology. I think everyone should know how to use technology, and I'll give you an example. As a paramedic, where sometimes it's pretty important to do math, I know how to do math on a calculator, but when my phone is not working or dead, or the math calculators or the IV pump breaks, I have done in emergencies on critical transfers from ICU to ICU with a pen and paper while the ambulance was moving. I've written pen and paper, done the basic med math for my infusion rates.
Right.
And you have to know how to do that. And if you can't, then a patient gets hurt because your calculator wouldn't work right, or your phone is dead, or
Right.
your
But my
partner
handwriting is also terrible. So you're never going to want me to handwrite anything ever in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's missing here is that
people should know how to do basic things on their own as well.
Yeah.
We got rid of cursive.
I think
nobody needs that anymore. It's a
think-
dead technology.
I think what you guys are, you have to remember though, is like, it really depends on what you do for a job. Like, I don't care if the guy who serves me, can't do math. The computer's going to do it for him, right? Like at a restaurant, right?
But they're also like, kids shouldn't be on screens all day. Why not? Their whole life is going to be on a screen when they get a job, wherever they're working. They're going to, if you're on screen most of the time, you're going to be more proficient in that. And you're going to hamstring them if you say, like, you can't be on the screen for half the time.
Well, that's a different issue. If kids are raised on screens 24/7, they're going to be socially messed up, and they're going to have all sorts of issues.
Yeah, I think we're talking about different issues here.
They're going to be differently messed up, right? There's the social aspect of it is just going to morph into whatever it is, right? They're more social online. They're not as social in person. But if most business is done online, that's where they will have the
advantage. It all depends on your own values. I want my kids to be able to interact with real humans in real life. If that's not a big priority to you, they can be on screens more. But I want my kid to playing outside for hours with neighbors in real life.
Right, and you may find your kid disadvantaged in a world where that doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I think that's it. That's probably an exaggeration. I mean, look, it doesn't take that long to get those social skills in person or online. I mean, both of those things,
it's not a problem.
Both of those things can be picked
people
up.
Could do both. I've used ChatGPT very effectively for a lot of things, but also I've written freehand with pen and paper, and on the computer I've typed up a bunch of books and stuff on my own. So
Yeah.
you can do two things.
Yeah, right.
You can do both.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I handwrite is if I can't get to my computer fast enough. But if I'm taking notes, like I'm typing. If I'm on a phone with someone and I can get my notes app opened up quickly enough, I'm on my notes app. Right? I don't handwrite anything unnecessarily unless it's just like a quick scribble. Because number one, my handwriting sucks, and number two, that's not the world I live in.
I don't have the best handwriting either. Like, don't get me wrong here, and I'm gonna type a lot of stuff too. But like, I don't know, like the idea that like we're just not gonna like teach kids to write, it just seems absolutely absurd.
I don't think you need to teach kids how to use a keyboard at this point, because most of the stuff happens on your phone or your tablet.
Oh man,
you know what I've always
learn how to type on that.
The problem with this is though it's so inefficient by comparison to typing.
Doesn't matter. It's where we're going.
But efficiency is money, and if you're inefficient and stuff, like who's gonna hire you? Like why would I hire somebody who can't type if typing?
Because
is
the keyboard's not going to exist, and they'll be faster without it.
But they're not. That's the problem. There's no way you're going to be faster, typing in onto a phone.
Well, then you click the microphone button.
way
just talking
faster at
to it.
typing into a phone. I just started Googling while you guys were talking. Is there
No,
a
you
keyboard?
are, but that's because you don't have the skills, the keyboarding skills. That's
Because
what
she's of a generation that doesn't need
I
it.
know.
And I had a
But that's
couple
not- that's
classes
not-
in school.
Well,
it
she
just-
doesn't need it, but in other lines of work, she would need it. Is what I'm trying to
No,
say.
but what if I could use
disagree.
a phone keyboard, but maybe I'm going to be a job that needs to be typing like the people in
They have
in
keyboards.
trial.
They have like
They
phone
need to-
keyboards
yeah.
that are USB connected to your
That's
computer.
exactly what I was going to start looking at because I hate this stupid thing. I hate keyboards. It makes me type so much slower. My dad couldn't believe it. He was like, I bet you can't type at the same rate as I'm like talking,
Yeah,
and he
that's
said a
because-
sentence and
that's
I was
because
doing
the-
it.
That's because the skill sets
I never
aren't there because
timed
people
it.
haven't picked up those skill sets.
But and when we were in school, I had to take classes. I could get better if I
Keyboarding, yeah.
wanted. It's just never been actually necessary. It's just awful.
Well, right, and that's the thing. Like, it depends.
Doing this with all four fingers.
It depends
is awful.
on. It depends
I'll
on
look it up later.
what you
Nice.
do with life and your job and everything else. Not everybody needs
Yeah,
to
true.
be a
It
keyboard.
does depend exactly.
No.
That's why it's not something that everyone needs to do. I
Not-
agree with that.
Not everybody needs to be a a super great at keyboarding like a
Yeah.
secretary does, but not necessarily
But if Bonnie's
most people, right?
faster
Like-
on like a little mini keyboard like the one I just showed her,
With USB,
Right. with a
plugged
USB
in, and I
rather
can
than
use it
on
on-
a standard
I'm gonna
computer
get
keyboard,
one,
she's going to
literally.
do that and she'll be
I
more
hate
efficient.
this keyboard, how big the buttons are. Like you have to press all the way down. You're using like your four fingers.
this
I
is-
usually end up chicken pecking a lot faster.
So I've gone
It's
from
generational. I'm telling you, you guys are just old.
I've used computer keyboards for
thumbs must be
for
strong.
30 something years, right? And I have
You're
to say,
old.
I am. I'm getting up there in age, right?
I haven't lived
But
for 30 something years
I
yet.
have to say, every time you transition from one keyboard to another, it's a learning curve, right? But once you've used it for a little bit, you're going to probably be way faster at it.
I also think this one is the worst of all time.
Maybe.
If you're good with the keyboard or with a phone, the keyboard's faster. So you can get comfortable with anything, but all else being equal, keyboards are absolutely potentially
Yeah,
faster.
but if most of your technology and work is done on the phone, you're not going to pull out a full size keyboard on this tiny
That's
screen.
why-
You're just going to get good at it.
Richie, I and no one else is advocating for tying up kids and forcing them in school to learn typing 10 hours a day, all day, every day, and forcing them to learn on a keyboard.
Well, except for half the people at your law school who have to handwrite half their assignments.
I think people should just get aptitude tests.
If you don't like it, but I want to hear from, I guess, Bonnie and Penguin. Would you agree that's a decent idea to consider for schools to require roughly half the assignments to be done with pen and paper so they can't cheat with LLMs?
I guess it depends on the school. Like, do I really care about every job using ChatGPT? I don't really
Lawyers,
care.
paramedics, doctors, if you want them to have brains.
They'll get the Joe Biden auto pen. They'll have ChatGPT, and they'll just have the auto pen write it out.
That's not how it works.
Paramedic or your lawyer?
Yes, it is. It signs the document.
I didn't know it was a literal pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It moves. It's like a 3D printer. It moves.
Wow,
Yeah,
I gotta look this up.
I think this is like one of these situations where it's like you do what's right for you, and I'll do what's right for me. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I don't write a whole lot on paper, but I don't think that's like.
Oh, it doesn't go in his hand. It's like a like you said, a 3D
So you
printer kind of.
do your ChatGPT, you plug it into that thing, and it hands right your assignment.
But then you could not get away in class with that because I thought it was like a pen you hold in your hand and it writes for you. I was like, that's crazy.
No, I think writing is still important. Like, I don't think people should not be taught to write. Like, I think people should get those skills.
Maybe
but,
medical.
I don't even think medical. I think everybody should just have.
Doctors
a general,
have the worst handwriting.
But see, everybody is where there's problems because do I really think that I need my cosmetologist
Look, we're not talking
to
about
get
really
something like that?
good writing skills. We're talking about basic skills, right? Like
I don't really care if somebody who's just like raising pigs somewhere can write.
You're not even going to submit a handwritten motion to the court.
I'm not saying we should force anything on anybody. What I'm saying is it a good idea to have basic math skills?
Like if it was
and have
your kid,
basic
sure. but
writing skills. And
Maybe
have
some
basic
people
keyboarding
say
skills.
maybe some people say me and my kids were going to be farmers and we don't need to be reading writing. I'm sorry about the accent. I realized that was mean as soon as I started.
Jay Noon and his kids can do basic reading and writing and math.
I'm not saying Jay Noon. I'm saying that maybe somebody out there doesn't care and they want to just do farming and or so. Okay, maybe
also
farming isn't a job where
See,
you
the
can't.
problem is that farming, these skills, like these jobs that you're thinking of, like you think that these
trying
are
to
like
think of
dumb
anything
people
that you don't
like
need it.
jobs, right? But they actually do require certain skills. Like they probably
Okay,
have math and-
cosmetology-
They can't even fix their own tractor.
Right, like they do probably
Cosmetologist?
require some of these skills.
Maybe. Not if there's a tool that does it for you. That's my point.
So there
Right,
we
like
are.
I was told as a kid, put down those video games, you'll never make a career out of it. and now esports is a thing. Right? Like totally could have made a career out of it, but the older generation was like, this will never.
And they put a calculator in your hand instead.
Yeah.
Or I mean, they took those away from you. I forgot.
I have to remember the multiplication table. The most important professor I had in college was every test was open book, open notes, and he put all the formulas you needed on the board.
Whoa.
And if there was a formula you thought you needed that wasn't on the board, you would just ask him and he would put it on the board.
Wow.
And look how rich he ended up.
What's that? Well, I mean, he taught a lot of people, so don't say that I'm the prodigy of him. But his point was you're gonna enter a world with access to all the information you need. And it's not going to be important that you memorize the information. It's going to be important that you know which formula to use in this situation and know how to find that formula and plug it in.
It's figuring it out. I think that's the key thing, and that's what most people don't have.
But you're not going to get that from handwriting.
You know what's crazy to me
Yeah,
is
exactly.
in all the years I went to school, they never taught us how to figure stuff out.
Like common sense. Yeah.
They'll like teach you stuff,
Logic.
but they won't teach you how to figure out how to figure
Yeah,
stuff
I
out.
never
Like, it's
had a logic class either, and it was never like an option.
Well,
And-
I had a logic class, and I think that was
You
a
did?
waste of my time. But that's not the point that I'm making. Yeah, in college. But
yeah, I
that's-
didn't have one in high school.
Common sense. Yeah, schools don't teach common sense.
Yeah, like how do you use Google? Like how do you use a search engine? Like the basic skills. And like the crazy thing is the teachers didn't know how to use how to do this stuff. And it's just like
that's the wonderful thing about children, because they've done experiments where they leave the computer in the untapped African tribe, right, or the town, and the kids figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. They trial and error, they figure it out, and then they're more proficient than the adults.
Yeah, people are always saying about their own kids, like, my kid's going to be a computer genius. They can do this stuff. And I've heard it so many times. I'm now hearing my friends say it about their kids, and I'm like,
I used to set
everybody
the
says that
clock
about
on the
their kids.
VCR for my grandparents.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know how, I knew how.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to me at some point. Right.
See, you know the funny thing is I knew all about the tech stuff, but not the VCR stuff. Like I could never program a VCR. like why would you program a VCR? Like
read the manual.
Well, I'm not saying I couldn't, but I never did. And it's like I was
no, I get it.
Like
You don't seem like much of a movie person either, though.
Oh no. Well,
I'm just saying, right?
Maybe
Technology is for the young, and they will do stuff that you can't even fathom yet because you're not going to get there, and you're going to take longer, or you're going to resist.
You might
it.
stifle them, like apparently Rich got stifled in the video game era or a video game career.
Right? Why would you limit screen time for your kids in a world where they're going to be looking at the screens for employment and income purposes?
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? Okay, Richie, how do you feel about the possibility of an EMP or something temporarily and permanently taking out technology, or even if technology is down for a little bit, like if Russia or China attacks us, and then you'll want your kids to have basic skills like reading and writing and stuff like that if they can't rely on AI for a bit?
I didn't catch the actual question. Try that again, please.
Would you agree that technology is not always going to be 100% of the time there and reliable and available? Because when those darn Chinese finally bomb us, or an EMP, or technology,
solar
or
flare,
internet's down, solar flare, how are you going to function if you've never prepared and you've relied so much on technology?
Yeah, the short answer is I'll probably die, right? But I don't worry about I don't worry about the 1% of things, right? We live in a world with cryptocurrency, and they go, what if an EMP takes it down? You better hoard your gold and silver so you have something to trade, right? Well, that is so unlikely. Right, that I'm not gonna like diversify my portfolio significantly into gold and silver on the off chance that an EMP takes down the Bitcoin network. Right, like I'm playing the odds because I understand statistics.
I mean, obviously, there's a. I think what it comes down to is you're right in some respect. There's a limit to like
relying on the internet.
Right. Well, I mean, like. I understand.
But it's very slim.
You should diversify, but there's also a point in which it doesn't make sense to diversify further.
I think
right?
if the internet went down, our gold is not going to be that.
You're going to live in a world with
you're going to need bullets, and you're going to need
you're
going to live in a world with untrained EMTs because the AR glasses that they're wearing are going to walk them through the process of CPR.
Oh my goodness!
It's going to like illuminate the arm, and it's going to find the vein, and the only skill you need to teach them is how to insert the needle.
Okay, so
you're skeptical because you're old.
Do you want an idiot
following directions, because that's what you get when you call a tech support.
Yeah, have you ever seen the people following directions?
Do you really want those people committing like surgery, like doing surgery on you? No, you want somebody who's actually skilled at it, who's actually done it before.
No, they've already,
and they're not just reading a script.
They've already had robot surgeries done remotely for the doctors. Like,
there's a difference between a robot.
The doctor's at home,
sure,
because he couldn't get to the hospital in time, and he's doing it remotely.
There's a difference between a robot surgery and somebody with a broad set of skills who's going to be able to do various things.
And like all of the little intricacies, like, sometimes when we do it this way, this thing happens.
But that's how they're going to be taught. They're going to be taught with the technology of the time.
Oh, for sure.
That's just so they're going to put on the AR glasses in CPR class, and they're going to get walked through it. And they're going to put on the glasses on the field.
It's different as a learning instrument than expecting somebody to put on AR glasses and then like do it in the real world for the first time and never.
That's how it's going to be. That's just how the training happens.
Well, that's how the training happens, but that's not what you're not going to see people.
You go to the training class, you do CPR on a dummy, you do it in real life. It's a real human being that's about to die.
Yeah, but you're going to have the training before you go and use the glasses. You're not going to use the glasses once you've learned the skills, right? Like
you're going to use the glasses in training to learn the skills.
I think Richie's right. In the future, who's to say paramedics and doctors won't have those glasses that have a lot of technology telling them what to do in the future? I think eventually, it's a matter of time in 10, 20, 50 years. At some point, I do think that's certainly a possibility.
I don't know how far in the future you guys are thinking,
people now.
I don't know how far you guys are thinking, but like I think it's probably not something that you're going to want to have an inexperienced person performing any kind of surgery on you.
We're saying, what is the future? The future can't be stopped. Like, we all recognize in 5 or 10 or 50 years, there will be majority self-driving cars, right? It's not about whether you like it or not. That's probably
is that true? I don't know.
I mean,
in 50 years, most or all cars will be self-driving because they're going to get safer than humans.
Very slowly, then all at once.
That's terrifying. I don't want that to be true.
They're already safer than humans.
No, not that I don't want them to be safer than humans. I don't want most people to not be driving. 603-283-6160. I want to be driving my own car.
Safety. I want freedom, man.
Right, exactly.
I'm a libertarian.
Go to the racetrack.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's Free Talk Live. Thanks for the call, Alu.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, US President Donald Trump described the end of the Gaza conflict as the dawn of a new Middle East. On Monday, he visited Israel and Egypt, where he signed the official peace plan with other world leaders. The document, though, was not signed by Israel or Hamas, neither of which had representatives at the meeting. Ever since Kate Fisher sent this report.
Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, was there and shared a long handshake with Donald Trump in their first encounter since 2017. The Trump administration had denied Mr. Abbas a visa to travel to New York last month for the UN General Assembly. The next phases of any agreement between Israel and Hamas would include thornier issues the two sides are yet to agree on, including a full withdrawal of Israeli forces and whether Hamas would agree to lay down its weapons. It remains unclear whether such a brief gathering of leaders could make serious progress towards these goals.
The Gaza peace plan led to the release of the remaining 20 living Israeli hostages. Their families shared joy and relief at their return to Israel after 2 years in captivity. Ever since Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv was monitoring developments and sent this report.
Throughout the day, we could see helicopters in the sky, and they actually circled around and did flybys over Hostage Square, where tens of thousands of people had gathered from the early hours of the morning to watch the scenes of the hostages being released on large screens. Now, while there was relief there, the hostage families received bad news elsewhere. Of the deceased hostages, of which there are 28, it was announced that only 4 would be returning to Israel today. Israel then began releasing the Palestinian prisoners in exchange. That included some 1,700 people who were detained in Gaza over the last 2 years. It included children as well as women and medical professionals seized when Israel raided hospitals.
On Friday, President Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. That followed confirmation on Thursday that Trump will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin again, this time in Budapest, in the next couple of weeks. Their first summit in Alaska drew criticism for failing to make progress on ending the war in Ukraine. Ever since Pablo Gutierrez sent this report from Budapest.
U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the Budapest talks after separate phone calls with Putin and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The White House said both sides agreed to continue discussions that began in Alaska in August. Orban said he spoke with Trump on Thursday and called the conversation encouraging, saying Hungary is honored to host talks focused on peace in Ukraine. Trump said the meeting could happen within about 2 weeks, with senior advisors from both sides scheduled to meet next week to prepare the agenda.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and that means that you can call 603-283-6160 during this last segment of the show, so get your calls in. There's still room for you, 603-283-6160, to bring up whatever's on your mind. It's Free Talk Live, and with you on the show tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
Mr. Penguin.
And Richie Rich.
And we do have a caller on the line, so I'm just going to go right to the phones. The Real McCoy, where are you calling from, The Real McCoy?
Colorado.
The Real McCoy in Colorado. What's on your
Hey,
mind
you should
today?
go visit Dave Ridley in Wyoming. It's only like an 8-hour drive.
I thought about these things. But anyways, so I mainly called in mainly to ask Chris questions about technology. Mainly, I guess, computer user interfaces.
Shoot, I just have to clarify, we don't do tech support on Free Talk Live, so, but if it's about technology, it's okay.
That's fine. Not so much tech
GNOME
support,
or
but
KDF.
why has it been since late 90s, maybe mid 2000s, if technology, at least using the computer, got progressively dumber and dumber? In terms of how we use computers, how we navigate through browser interfaces, operating system interfaces, mainly being relegated to either Windows or Mac, unless you actually operate with Linux and whatever other operating systems there are.
I'm thinking like iOS and Chrome OS 2 is also another one, I think,
Right.
in Android.
Right. And I noticed that as the decades went on, like, I want to call them like tech elites, perhaps, from Silicon Valley. I forget the acronym that people usually throw around with the big companies. But I feel like everything was done on purpose to make the populace dumber in terms of using computers. What do you think?
Like you're saying computers have been intentionally designed to make us dumber?
Well, dumber in terms of how we operate on computers.
Let me take a shot at this while you're thinking about it, Chris.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know how to respond.
The market serves the consumer.
Of Odyssey. I'll bring up Odyssey as an example.
My general answer is the market serves the consumer.
What's the? Are you talking about the video streaming platform?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Good example I can point to.
Of what? Example of what exactly?
So when you go visit Odyssey, when it's laid out, you have on the side to the left, like the genres of, videos that people upload, like education, science, this, that, the other thing. And then, you have YouTube that does a similar thing. But it's been done in such a way like, okay, well, that's fine that I can discover new videos if I click on, the buttons that they provide me on the user interface. But it's like, why didn't they build a feature to where I can have custom like feeds of genre videos? Like maybe, I'm subbed to all these crypto YouTubers and I want a single feed where I only see that instead of it all being jumbled up, mixed up. Like everything's so disorganized.
Well, that's for monetization.
Oh yeah, Richie Rich has a great solution for this. He just creates different accounts and keeps it algorithmically based
unique.
On different, unique.
So there's a couple of questions you asked, and I'll do my best while Penguin's still thinking there.
At least on Twitter, you said you did that.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm thinking too much here, guys.
Well, no, don't worry about it.
I don't know
man.
if I have an answer for this. Like,
I've got the answer. So at one point in time, right, the computers in general were exclusively used by smart people and nerds and people who wanted to learn the technology, right? And so it was designed for those people, right? The people that still use Linux and
it's designed to be efficient to make you good at what you're.
Use the command line, your big old 104 button keyboard, right? And then mass adoption takes place, and most people are stupid. Right, we've established this.
Yes.
So you can't have the vast majority of people using the command line to do things on these giant keyboards. So they gave them a graphical user interface, put a little dongle on there, called it a mouse, and then simple, you just click around on the screen because most dumb people can do that.
And thank God for that.
And thank God for that, right? Because the more people that use it, the more the more monies they make, the more they can improve the product, etc.
I mean,
But
okay,
that's why.
So the dumb people coming online, right? Let's take the 90s, right? And the dumb people came online, and look what we have today. We have this absolutely
4chan.
censored nightmare of an internet.
Yeah,
where,
that's the thing. It got more centralized, and now it's just only X instead of people having a bunch of sites.
Not only that,
and the censor.
but we also have situations where okay, I brought an article in that we're not going to get to, but 350,000 websites were basically taken down because of
Censored in
one
Spain.
copyright owner in Spain.
Mm-hmm. The government did it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where do I even begin? Where do I even begin with something like this?
So that answers that, the dumbing down. Now, as far as your algorithmic problems with YouTube and Odyssey, it's a monetization thing, right? They're trying to figure out how to keep you engaged as best they can, so you watch video after video after video, and they're not incentivized by your desire to only watch one type of video. They want you traveling down multiple rabbit holes and see multiple ads and so on and so forth. So they're purposefully giving you a variety, and then they measure the engagement on the back end to see which video you watch the longest, right? When you clicked off, when you clicked on, what you clicked on next, and the algorithm remembers that. And so, as Bonnie mentioned, at least on X, right? I have several X accounts that I use from the single app on my phone that are algorithmically programmed for my hobbies and interests, right? So I have one X account where I follow a whole bunch of libertarians and think tanks and outlets and people in New Hampshire, et cetera, to get liberty information. I have another one where I follow makers and people in the retro video game industry, right? And I have another one where I follow, mixed martial arts organizations and fighters and WWE and wrestlers and, those organizations. And nary the two overlap, right? I'm not going to get, retro video game news in my Liberty, New Hampshire feed. So when I'm seeking out Liberty, New Hampshire information, I know where to go, right? And that's how I designed it. Same with Facebook, right? Facebook, for they had the algorithm. People are like, I'm getting junk, right? Well, it's worse now, but at one point in time, it was my news feed because I only clicked on the like button for like the Mises Institute, Cato, Reason, right? The Lou Rockwell, as we mentioned earlier, Anti-War, and so that's all they would feed me. And when they go to the algorithm thing, I go, well, I got to go find the feed of just the stuff that I click the like button on, and then I just get it. Right now, there's a button on my phone that says friends. So if I get tired of all the ads and nonsense on my main feed, I just click on the friends button, and I only see the stuff of the people I want to follow.
You guys get ads?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Oh, interesting.
I don't get ads on YouTube anymore.
Would you install the ad blocker?
No.
Start over again, McCoy.
Oh, you really? Oh my God, that was so terrible, Bunny.
I have an
can't believe you
iPhone.
just
I can't have this ad. What is it called? NewPipe. I can't have NewPipe on my iPhone. So yeah, I got the premium on YouTube. I can't stand the ads. It's horrible.
Oh, I totally understand that. I just don't. Oh, I just want to strangle you for it.
I know. So you don't understand.
No,
don't use the app.
Stop using the iPhone, people. Stop using iPhones. They're terrible. Just install the Lineage OS or anything else, and then just install the plugin for Well, see, this is the problem with the youth.
My iPhone is
there's this
fine.
thing called a computer. Get a computer.
Oh, I hate computers. I seriously hate using laptops, computers, desktops. I just want to use a phone only.
Computers are so much better than
This
phones.
again, right?
Sorry,
I have
Paul.
an iPhone. It's way better than any Linux distribution Android phone I've had in the past.
That's
why I
They
switched.
bother me. They make they make my life so difficult.
Phones are a nightmare. They're terrible. They're so inefficient. You can't do. You're so locked down and restricted.
Mhm.
I couldn't live under that tyranny.
And yet that's
Nice.
where we're going because that's what the Utes are using.
That's not where I'm going. You guys can follow
Yes.
the Utes, but I'm not.
Caller, I think you were saying something before I started talking about the YouTube ads.
Right. I was just going to comment that it's all that stuff you mentioned. It's all done in such a highly inefficient manner.
Inefficient for whom? Inefficient for you, but efficient for the business who's trying to make money.
Well, you're talking. Here's the thing. These guys here are consumers, right? They don't produce anything. And I know we produce Free Talk Live, but it certainly isn't with a phone.
Speak for yourself. You can do a podcast on a phone.
It's like, why can't we have products that are produced in such a way for the dumb people and the people who actually like personal customization, personal this, that, the other thing, their own individuality and their expression to express however they want to.
Because it doesn't overlap, right? You can go get a Linux distribution and personalize it all you want. You're not going to do that for a dumb person. It takes too much work.
No, it does. Okay, so first of all, 90% of our customer base is in my company, we sell Linux devices, right? They're 90-year-olds, right? We're not talking about people who are computer literate. We're talking about people who call us up and are like, how can you, I got a computer, I hooked up all the cables for my desktop, now it's not coming on, and you have to figure out that they didn't press the one single button on the whole computer to turn it
press
on.
on.
There's only one
Power
button. It's the
button.
same way, yes, and it's the same
Poor
way every
design.
other device you've ever turned on turns on. You just press it.
Poor design. You should make it automatically go on when you plug it in.
But that's actually a possibility, but
yes, because that's what a
he
Raspberry
thinks
Pi
about
does.
stuff like this. He said that he
I
wishes
do.
he could.
I literally think about this stuff.
Yeah, he wants to create a automatic checkout where it just checks out without you having to press checkout.
Right, because people are so stupid, right? Amazon has made everybody they got the one click with Amazon.
Yeah,
no
there's your
clicks.
automatic
If you
checkout.
look at a page too long, a product page too long, it just adds it to the cart and automatically charges your card.
Yeah, that's not going to fly.
Zero checkout.
I don't know why he wants that. It's so
Well,
funny
one,
to
it's
me.
gonna make me a lot more money, and two, most people are too lazy to return stuff. And three,
Whoa.
people are so stupid nowadays. And look,
They're
I'm
gonna
sorry, but
if you do it retail, Amazon's already done that too.
I think most people would agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
Look to the right, look to your left, and there people around you are probably stupider than you.
Yes.
Right?
I look left and I look right.
Our
You're
listener
correct.
base is probably agreeing with me right now.
If you do it in MeatSpace, Amazon has done that too. They had their Amazon pop-up stores where you just added what you wanted to the basket and walked out the store, and the cameras figured it out and charged your Amazon account.
Right?
They're already behind the times.
Yeah, well, right.
I thought that they got in trouble for making it too easy to check out. So that's why I was like, Chris, you're going to get in trouble for that,
Amazon, recently, or when are you thinking?
I thought it was recent.
Okay.
I can look
Amazon
into
got
it.
in trouble recently for making it too easy to sign up for Amazon Prime.
Oh,
and
that's
then
what it is.
And then too
Too hard
difficult to cancel it.
Get off, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just, I don't know. Like, I mean, like, if everybody's going to do stupid stuff like this, like, and they're going to accept it, it's kind of like, well, why am I trying to make it, why am I trying to put so much effort into making it easier for people to like not be basically screwed over?
If you want to complicate your computer life, go install FreeBSD or OpenBSD and learn that. Customize it all you
realize that
want.
Linux is way easier to use than Windows and Mac, right? Like, and iOS and Android and all these
I
other
disagree.
platforms.
Ian has tried for years to try to get me to figure it out.
I'm telling you don't know what you're talking about.
As if, because you don't think I have a Linux distro?
I supported Windows users and Mac users and Linux users for like half a decade, and I swear to God, it was so much easier to support the Linux users. And we're talking about people who barely know how to turn a computer on, right? And the reason it's so much easier is because there isn't all this malware, there isn't all this like jumping around trying to go around accounts and things.
That's fair, but you're talking about
hoops
support
that you have to jump through.
I'm talking about for the end consumer.
No, I'm talking about the end consumer too. They don't need to call me for support, right? Like,
but they do because you're giving them Linux.
No, it's literally questions that they'd have the same the question, whether it was Windows on their system or Linux on the system or Mac. They're all going to call you and say, my computer's not working because they didn't press the button to turn it on.
No one's doing that on an iPhone because you go to the App Store, you click the button, and then you click on the button to turn the app on. Like, that's it. It's as simple to use.
You still had to turn the phone on originally.
They give it to you on. I don't think mine's ever been off for any extended period of time.
Okay, because like you went to a Verizon store and they turned it on for you?
I bought it from the Apple store and then I went to Verizon to have it activated.
Right, so you had to turn the phone on originally. It wasn't somebody else doing it for you.
Okay, but I've only had to do that once.
Okay, well, this only happens once. When you first buy our computers, you got to press the button to turn them on, right? Like,
sure. And if you're getting tech support calls for people who can't turn the computer on,
yes,
it's already too complicated for them. They're dumb. They're dumb, and you're giving them Linux. Give them a Mac.
I'm sorry, but
give them a Mac where everything is easily installed. You can only get the apps from
Windows
one store.
Systems are, and I don't even I can't tell you how many hours of frustration it is to try and support.
I think we should go to
Windows.
the phones. Sorry, I don't think you guys are going to agree on this.
Do we have more calls?
We do now.
From a support perspective,
right,
yes.
Let's see who else.
But ease of use, Linux is still well behind the times for the average consumer.
No. You're behind the times as far as Linux usage is going.
I don't know. I kind of
literally
think this isn't going to get
double the
ironed out here on the air.
No. But we've seen double.
You're just going to disagree.
The rate of adoption has doubled in like just the past year, and it's gone like
find
even
the
more
command
than that.
line. Type in sudo /
That's not Linux. That's not Linux.
easier.
This is somebody who's ignorant of Linux. It doesn't understand.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like,
No,
if you
that's
grew
how
up
you
learning
solve
Windows
problems with Linux.
Windows is
No,
going to be
it's
easier
not.
to
That's
use.
it is.
That's how you've been trained of. That's something that you did.
This is
30
we're in
years
the
ago.
weeds. This is way
I have
too
a
deep in the
I have
weeds.
a
I'm going to go to the phones
I
because
have
this
a
is just
server and a
ridiculous.
Debian virtual machine, and I got to
server
use
is
the
not
command
the same
line.
thing as a Linux desktop system.
With
If you go and
listen to
install
what I
some
said.
server
Listen to
operating
what I
system,
said.
you're going to have
Shush and listen to what I said. I have a server running a virtual machine with Debian.
Okay.
The Debian distro is the same as the desktop thing. It's just running virtually on my server.
Okay, so first of all, you don't use Debian for the desktop.
We're too
right?
in the
Like,
weeds.
this
I'm
is a
not. No,
technical-
Chris, seriously, we're way too in the weeds. We're not going to talk about tech like deep in the weeds like this on Free
All
Talk
right,
Live.
let's bring on another
We have a caller.
And I got to run
Paul?
to the command line to open up a program.
Hello.
Paul in Arizona here on Free Talk Live.
No
What's
tech-
on your mind?
no tech guy.
No,
No
he
tech.
can,
No
he can
tech.
bring it up if he wants, but
I had to jump in on this, Donnybrook. I have a Linux server that's got RAID 6 on it that I use as a media server.
Same.
And I can't figure out how to get later versions of software on it. It's like every time you try to do something useful on Linux, you end up in dependency hell. It's like
thank you.
You don't say.
I agree with you.
So this is
So sign up for Penguin's tech support
All right,
and
so-
it'll figure all that out
First
for
of
you
all,
in a
you
phone call.
guys don't understand how to use Linux, and that's just part of the problem. If you're in dependency hell, the first problem that you ran into is you did it wrong. You did it the Windows way. You did it the Mac way. You don't go installing random third-party repositories or software from random third-party repositories. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, and you don't run into those problems when you update Windows or Mac.
You don't run it on Windows and Mac. If you try to upgrade them, they don't work. The hardware stops working. If you try to upgrade a Linux system that's properly supported with hardware that isn't garbage, it just works, right? On Windows and Mac, it's a never-ending nightmare of problems.
If you say so.
Well, look, I will just say I support Linux. I think it's a great idea. I love open source software. I will be a 100% Linux booster. I do use it, but it's when I'm trying to do something, that I'm trying to actually get done, I have to use my Windows machine. I finally figured out how to do something with media.
You got to fire up Windows so you can find the instructions on how to fix your Linux box.
So here's one of the problems.
Exactly.
No.
You think that this is a unique experience because you're a Linux guy?
I'm about to buy a whole new desktop.
First of all, I deal with you guys every day with this stuff. Okay,
there's your problem there.
You guys are. This is the problem with people who criticize Linux. They haven't even spent enough time to figure out that, first of all, you don't do things like buy junk hardware. I gotta watch my language here. Junk hardware. Install Linux on it that isn't designed to work with it. It's gonna fail. It's gonna be a nightmare. It's the same thing with Windows. If you install Windows whatever.
Windows just comes with the machine you buy at Best Buy.
But when you try to upgrade it, you can't. You're literally forced to buy a new computer.
Update button.
No, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, but I supported Windows for way too long.
I get a little pop up
to be that naive to think that this is how Windows actually works.
I get a pop-up every first Tuesday of the month on my Windows machine. It says updates are ready, and you click the button and it reboots and everything still works.
Yeah, it does not.
I was told for years that Linux, the advantage of Linux is it runs on less less expensive hardware because it's more forgiving.
No. So it has nothing to do with the cost of the hardware. This is the nonsense that people spew. People give so much bad information when it comes to technology, and it's like, stop. If you don't know what you're talking about, just remain silent. Stop spewing more
You can
garbage.
run Linux on good hardware, and you can find an older distribution that runs on older hardware.
Linux has never been about the price, guys. It's always been the root of Linux and free software has been about the freedom. It's gratis. I'm sorry, it's not gratis, meaning no cost. It's Libre. Now, it's usually gratis too, but it's Libre, meaning free as in freedom, okay?
But you also tacitly admitted you spend most of your day doing tech support on a Linux machine.
That's why I like the idea of it being there, and to tell us your website so that we can read all these easy-to-use Linux tricks, okay?
Yeah, so
LinusTechTips.com.
No, it's not it. It's thinkpenguin.com.
Oh.
So my company sells hardware. I know this. We never talk about it, but on the show. But my company sells hardware. Literally what I do for a living is basically give people solutions to these.
But you gotta buy it from them first.
Because you can't put in Linux on any old hardware.
No, I think that it's
specialized hardware from thinkpenguin.com.
He has to, right?
You
would have to buy from you first, because
no, you don't. Okay,
otherwise
so
you're just doing free tech support all day.
You can do, So we sell hardware that works properly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and unlike with Windows systems, where if you try to upgrade them, they fail, or maybe your printer stops working or whatever, because there's no updated drivers for it. With Linux, if you buy hardware that has free software drivers, then you can upgrade from one release to the next without running into the problems that you run into with Windows and Mac systems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you buy crummy hardware that requires proprietary drivers, you're going to run into the same problems in Linux as you do with Windows and Mac. And so you have people making stupid decisions because they don't know better. And so one of the things I do is part of my job is to help people, guide people in, well, how do you do this and how do you make it work for you better and give you a better user experience? But if people just go off on their own and they don't listen to good advice, or they listen to bad advice, like they start adding third-party repositories that then install conflicting library, well, yeah, it's going to break. It's the same thing with Windows. If you try to install, if you try to do something weird with Windows, you could break it too.
No, I was actually saying people should buy from you.
Printer manufacturers also support Mac and Windows way longer than they do Linux. All the Linux drivers are like Hackintosh together by the community.
So first of all, Linux still has support for hardware from like the 80s and 90s.
That's what the gentleman was saying. You're like, you can't be using Linux on old stuff. It's not meant for that anymore.
Yeah, I've got a server, an old Windows machine that ran Windows perfectly. I turned it into a Linux box because I wanted the open source simplicity, and I wasn't going to be doing a lot of heavy computing on the server. But I can't even figure out how to get an updated version of a web browser on it. I'm like, 4 years
You
behind.
go to the software center and you type in web browser.
So thinkpenguin.com, and you can sign up for his paid tech support, and he'll teach you how to use Linux properly.
Oh my God. You guys are probably using first of all, you're using distributions like Debian, which are more geared towards the server, not towards the desktop. But first of all, install Linux Mint. Okay, so first of all,
Debian is like what most of the desktops are based off of.
Stop. What?
Debian is what most of the desktops are based off of.
But it's tweaked so it actually works properly and well for the desktop user. If you don't have any of the tweaks in there, then you're going to be at a terminal and no wonder why you're having problems.
Because the program that I needed requires a Debian distribution, doesn't run on anything else.
If it runs on Debian, it's going to run on Linux Mint.
Nope.
Okay, first of all, I don't know what the program is, but you're probably using programs you shouldn't be using because they're horrible programs.
Because the only thing that makes it horrible is it doesn't have a graphical user interface that makes it simple.
I'm glad that
Like
there
it
are
would
people
on
out there
Windows.
that are like you said earlier, making it more difficult for the tech. Yeah, I wrote it down even when you said it at the time. People using little things like Matrix and stuff like that. We're making it at least a little bit more difficult for the tyranny. The what do they call it when they watch you? Surveillance tyranny. So there's people out there doing the Linux stuff, even if it's like, I'm not about to do it.
Yeah, it undermines the tyranny of the state, basically.
Yes.
Or tyranny of the big software companies, basically.
Thank you, Paul, for the call. And I'm glad that there are people out there doing it when you have the patience for it, but I honestly just very much disagree that it's easier. I think. But then again, I was raised, my school taught me how to use Windows. FreeTalkLive.com. Thanks.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project to have a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Every month, 10% of the mining rewards go into a treasury. Anyone with one Dash to spend can put forward a proposal to the Dash masternodes. The masternodes vet the proposals and decide which ones move forward and are funded by that treasury. Nowadays, DAOs are plentiful, but Dash paved the way by doing it first, nearly a decade ago. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new